I feel like every time we log into Netflix, there's some new documentary or series or
Yes.
whatever. Anyway, so
Yep.
Bad Vegan is up. My wife and I watched. It's only like 4 episodes or something. It's not a super lengthy one,
Hmm.
but it's all the reason it's called Bad Vegan. I thought it was going to be about food. It was another one of those feel bad about what you eat documentaries, is what I thought. But no, it's a whole scam thing. It's the idea of someone being completely taken advantage of and scammed um, for all their money. And so yeah, the lady she runs this vegan restaurant, and that's where you get the name Bad Vegan. But it's really nothing to do with teaching you how to eat or
Veganism. It's not.
explaining.
Yeah.
It's not about that at all.
I didn't think so.
I thought it was like about a vegan who like accidentally ate eggs one time or something. Like,
And there's
vegan,
4
bad.
episodes
You're
about
bad.
their self guilt trip and like.
Yeah.
It's not that, but
How the vegan police
the
come
reason
in
I
and
thought
go, we
about
have to
it,
take away your powers. You know.
we were talking about Alec Baldwin, and his name comes up in that because she starts talking to this guy essentially over Twitter, who Alec Baldwin, who she has met in her restaurant before. And she introduces the whole thing that way. And then she sees this guy online. They start chatting, and she kind of uses the fact that she has seen Alec Baldwin interact with him on Twitter as like, all right, this guy must be kind of legit-ish. Like their interaction on Twitter was one of the things that gave her some reassurance that this guy was the real deal. And spoiler, he's not.
Shocking.
I had an inkling that it was a crime thing or some type of somebody's ripping you off type story when I saw it in the top 10, because the top 10 of Netflix is normally crime related stuff.
Yep.
Did you end up watching? Anybody watch The Tinder Swindler? Because it's very similar.
No.
Love that.
Okay.
That's a great name.
That shit is so weird.
It's very similar. Where like this dude is just
title.
conning women out of so much money, and he's claiming that people are after him. And he's like a Israeli guy or something. He's like claiming people are after him and all this stuff.
Yeah,
he lives this lavish lifestyle, and then it's about women like the women that he dated, like kind of like colluding to kind of get revenge on him.
Dude.
One of them in particular does it brilliantly. Where like she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna help you move somewhere," and the whole time she's informing on him on the FBI, like
nice.
to the
Okay. Yeah.
So like she's like, I'm gonna help you move and everything like that. So he's like, okay, cool. I sent you my clothes, and so she snitched on him, the FBI, or whoever it is, the Israeli version of the FBI, and she decides to start selling his clothes. I was like, that's baller, dude. That's such a great way to get revenge on him from him stealing
That's pretty good.
thousands of dollars from you. Like she just starts. And yeah, she's still doing it apparently. By the time the movie's airing, she's at the end of it. She's like, yeah, I'm still, I just got an alert. I'm still selling his clothes.
I just got an alert.
Yeah,
well, stuff like that, and stuff like this Bad Vegan, and plenty of other things where they, you can go and read, watch, whatever, the story of people being taken advantage of. It just it makes me real bummed out because I think there's more good people in the world than bad people. More good people who are like willing to help, want to share, willing to connect. Like I think there's more good than bad, but the bad ones take such advantage. It makes even the good ones really skeptical and kind of pull back and makes us all distrusting of each other. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a vast majority are just bad people. Maybe, but
I have a theory that
like most are pretty good-hearted people.
The reason material like that is so highly viewed on Netflix and wherever else is because of what you're saying. It's mostly good people watching that stuff going, how can somebody be this much of a POS? Like, it doesn't make sense. People like us can't wrap our brains around being that horrible of a person, So maybe that's my theory.
The novelty of it like becomes entertainment,
For sure.
Yeah,
exactly. That makes sense. I buy that. Did y'all watch last year's docuseries Murder Amongst the Mormons?
I did.
No.
Yeah.
My wife watched
it
and loved
HBO,
it.
right?
It's in. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I think that was HBO Max, wasn't it?
I think so.
Was it HBO?
It might have been HBO.
Anyway.
Whatever. Yeah, it was on something. I just watched it recently. I thought it was great. I had no idea what it was about. And I love the whole message because like at first you're like, okay, what's about Mormons? Okay, well it's about a murder, and then you're like, no, it's about people hijacking history. And it's like it's
I haven't seen
almost,
it. So.
It's almost like, and I won't spoil the thing because I think you really should. It's almost like Identical Strangers, where you think it's about one thing, and it just the idea of it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then the scope of it when the documentary ends is so big, and it leaves you in a way where you're like, wait, is the history that we're taught, is that like real, or I don't and it has nothing to do with Mormons.
And I think that one it might have been a series or a movie. That one about the girl who drowned in a water tower.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah,
that one kind of ended up being about internet sleuths too, more than the crime, because they were spinning up this narrative that was totally not fabricated, but it was dramatized and they wanted it to be.
Yeah,
and then it turned out to not be anything to do with what they were theorizing. Like, it's just sometimes it's as simple as she had mental issues and she drowned herself to run away from something.
That became a very Occam's razor thing, because in the paranormal side of things, like people took that and ran with it, like, oh my god, like she was possessed or something, and it's just like, no, she just was off her meds and she was traveling abroad and she went crazy and killed herself
and just made a really dumb decision.
Yeah,
there it is.
That's kind of all there was to it. But that solved itself really quickly, and the documentary came about, like how dumb people take the ball and run with things online.
Yeah, I mean, they went after this Russian or something.
They ruined some guy's life. His career. Yeah,
because they were like, oh, he totally killed her. And he's like, I don't know who that is. Like,
I don't even live in that country.
I just make weird music videos, man. I'm just like gothic and weird.
I'm just gothic and weird.
Yeah, it was cool. I really like that one too.
Yeah, I do.
There's some documentaries that really blow my mind. By the time like you're done with the journey, you're like, wow, we did not end where I thought we were gonna end.
Yeah. I do dig when that happens, though. That's very surprising.
I like most documentaries that have a good mystery element to it, like even if it's a topic that I normally don't care about too much or whatever, like you can hook me in with a good mystery in most of them.
I can't recommend enough. Kyle brought it up a little bit. 3 Identical Strangers in that case, because that's one of my favorite documentaries.
That is probably my favorite documentary ever.
It starts with this like innocent story from the 80s about 3 guys that were separated close to birth, a little after birth. That were triplets.
Afterbirth, yeah.
A little after, it was like not right after.
It's got a smoky afterbirth.
They were covered in it.
Kind of oaky afterbirth, yeah. What's that?
What was that?
Oaky. But it's about them reconnecting, and then they kind of dig into why were they separated to begin with. And it's like this whole web of conspiracy.
Well, they don't even realize they're brothers. Like, someone was like, you look like a guy I go to school with. And he's like, get out of here. And then they meet each other, and they're like, wow, we look just like each other.
Exactly.
And then they figure out there's a third one, and they're like, well, he looks just like us too. And then they realize that they're 3 identical twins. Or they're triplets,
But it's not like a reenactment, right? This is a documentary.
No, this is a real documentary,
Wow. Yes.
It gets so real that,
I'm
like,
into that.
By the end, and it's not a series, it's a one and done.
It's a movie,
movie. By the time it's done, like that documentary gave me so many chills at so many different points for so many different reasons.
Nice.
To the point, like when it's done, like I don't even know if what I'm feeling is good by the end of it. It's kind of just like weird about how surreal everything is, and
it poses so many questions about identity, just life in general.
Yeah,
like that, I did not
nature versus nurture.
From that story, yeah, exactly. Like how especially in the case of triplets or twins or whatever, how conditioning could work or something, or if we're all kind of fated to behave a certain way. Really, God.
I'm glad to hear it's a documentary. I meant that story sounds interesting. If it were a fictional show, which my wife has watched a couple that are like that, the whole switch that birth idea, it's so eye-rolly, like I can't handle it. It's too cheesy.
How do you even call it a documentary if it's not real? Like that's not,
I know. I was just making sure that it wasn't
a
reenactment.
It does sound like a tropey weird.
It will,
it sounds like a CW show.
Completely. Yeah, sure.
It will inevitably be like an HBO miniseries, I'm sure.
That's
because they're doing that with the staircase, and
they're doing it with the staircase. Which, the guy who definitely 1000% killed his wife.
Yes.
They're like a giant mystery.
That's an owl.
No one questions
an owl.
Yeah.
I have never been so sure about someone killing someone in my entire life.
Wrap it up, boys. It happened.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. But anyway, all right. Well, there's also the reason that you remind me of this is you're talking about triplets and stuff. I just watched the episode of Murderville with Marshawn Lynch where there's triplets involved there. And Jeff recommended the show probably a month or two ago, whatever it was, and I can confirm it because we were out of town, and so I downloaded a bunch of stuff to watch, and that was one of the shows on my queue that I had been meaning to get to. So I downloaded like 3 episodes of it, and boy, that show's so funny. Like I love when they break. I love when like Conan O'Brien makes up this whole story on the spot about being bullied as a kid, and then all the kids who bullied him became senators, and the lady improvs, and she goes, "So name one," and he goes, "Dianne Feinstein," and she just dies.
She just completely breaks. Yeah.
And she's supposed to be the professional improv player. Like she's
good.
not supposed to break.
There's lots of moments.
I mean, it's
or the
Conan,
moment like
right?
when the magician starts doing these tricks, and then Will Arnett way over responds to the feel of the trick. And Conan's like, no one responds like this. Oh man, that's great. But you were right, Jeff. Totally great call. Marshawn Lynch. I knew he was funny because of all of his interviews after football games. Like you could just tell if anyone saw those, this guy he's a hilarious dude, very witty, very funny and smart. But on the show, it's like he's like an improv actor. Like he
doesn't break, and he handles everything so professionally.
He almost breaks when Will Arnett tells him like the fake name he needs to use, and that's when he goes, "Oh Lord!" Like
but then he plays along, and he's like, "No, just call me by my last name, actually," which is like the worst part of the name.
Yes.
But anyway,
it's something silly like ass muncher or something like that. It's something dumb.
Sure.
No, it's like shit brain or something like that.
Shit brain.
It's something like that. And then he says, and I forget his first name was something. I forget what it was, but they call him that. He's like, no, just shit brain. Like he plays into it. It's so
he
good.
does.
I haven't watched that yet. I should watch.
He's really clever. And
dude,
it's a quick, breezy watch.
It is. It's 6 episodes. Kumail Nanjiani is my favorite episode for sure.
It's a little bit of a game too, because the guest actors are actually truly trying to solve it and trying to guess.
It's a pretty
easy mystery. It's a little bit of a game show element that I like too, where it's not really, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's a little bit of a little bit of an escape room vibe.
People win and lose at the end of the.
At the end, they'll reveal who it is if they're right or wrong, and show you the clues that were offered to them. Anyway, it's good, man. I like that show. It's great. Between that and Tiny Tina's Wonderland, I'm getting a lot of Will Arnett these days, and I'm okay with it. I'm all right.
Oh yeah.
He's great.
Living in a Will Arnett world,
Since we're already talking about stuff we're watching, Halo premiere just aired, right?
It happened. Yeah, it happened.
And I see it's in the background, Jeff.
I thought I would put something from this week in my background. As far as my feelings on the show, it's fine.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet.
It's fine.
I watched it. I probably like it more than Jeff, but not by a lot. I had a lot to say.
The reviews seem.
I feel like it has a lot to prove.
Okay.
Like story wise, but like the production, great. The sound design, great. Don't care about the helmet stuff at all, like even a little bit. In fact, I like that actor a lot.
What do you mean about the
Liev Schreiber's brother? Like he's.
What do you mean about the helmet stuff?
Well, people are mad that like he takes his helmet off because he doesn't do that in the games. But
he did it already in the first episode.
Yes. Yeah. He just takes his helmet off. Yeah, and they say that. I'm not spoiling
and it's
anything.
not just that. Not just.
There was interviews leading up to it to prepare everybody because they knew about.
No, I'm not worried about the spoiling. I'm just surprised.
Yeah, but I'm just for everybody else who's listening who are like, wait, what?
Like even Mandalorian, they wait till what is it the last episode or second to last before he takes it off. So
he and the is it the robot forces him like he's like
to heal
have to do this to help you. Yes, in this one it felt like the writers were like, we got to get this helmet off him. We got to.
Yeah, we just gotta it felt like a Band-Aid. We just got to rip the Band-Aid off type of thing, like.
Because when he takes it off, he keeps it off through like the last 10 minutes of the episode, and you're like, this is weird.
I know this is a rabbit trail, but I have to say it because I'll forget. I just watched the trailer for the new Judd Apatow movie that's got an amazing cast. It's coming to Netflix.
That looks
great.
The Bubble, yeah.
And Pedro Pascal. Just thinking about him from Mandalorian, he's in it too. And dude, that movie looks so funny. The Bubble looks hilarious. I can't wait for that movie. I think that's next.
Pedro Pascal also in that Nick Cage movie where Nick Cage plays himself. So Pedro Pascal is doing a lot
lot
stuff right now.
And, well, he's got to balance it out with Last of Us, which is going to crush everyone.
I was just going to say that. So
palate cleanser. He's a palate cleanser.
It's a barrel of laughs. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the happiest show ever on Earth.
Happiest deaths.
But I don't know. And to get back to Halo, it's fine. Like I'm interested to watch more of it, but like
they have 2 episodes out or 1.
Just one.
It's people. People have reviewed 2, so like in the media, people have seen 2.
That's what I thought I saw.
Everybody else has seen 1.
They showed both at South by Southwest, the first 2 episodes, and so like when there is action and it happens at the very beginning. Some of that's really cool. Like some of that.
There's 10 minutes of action in this that's outstanding.
Yeah. So I'm pretty on board with that. I just
10 episode season they're gonna do.
I think so. I just the story of like there's one survivor in this town and she's like a teenager. The actress looks older, but she's a teenager in the show, and he's like got a protector or something. I'm just like, nah, to that type of
story. Like this is you're no Baby Yoda, am I right? You know,
right.
Listen, even Mandalorian had some of those side episodes, very Firefly-esque. That's like, can you bring me back to the real story? Like even some shows that I love have those like just single storyline threads, which are fine. But
I hope the show is not about him babysitting her while he fights Covenant. That's my worry. I feel a very Tiger and Cub story coming on with this one.
Yeah, I hope it's not that.
I hope they abandon that very quickly, because
I would love it if he says that, like, I can't guard you, and he just shoots her. Like, we're done. Like, I can't do this. Like,
or he melees her, right? Isn't that the one-shot melee?
And then you hear the shield breaking sound, which you hear all those sounds you hear in the show. It's
really?
It's so great.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It's not corny at all. Like, it actually.
No.
You hear the shield recharging too, like
yes,
yeah. He takes cover.
All those sounds. Whenever you hear the plasma sword come out, they went to the sound gallery and plucked them right from the game. Like,
that's cool.
And it is not in a cheesy fan made type of way. It feels really good and it looks really good. It's just the story's got some. It needs to go somewhere. What they've set up so far is kind of weird.
Is this connected to the actual games, or is it a separate thing? Okay,
complete
separate.
non-canon. Okay. Yeah, like just they're telling their own story. Liberties are being taken.
Yeah,
sure.
Which I respect that. That's fine. They've already acknowledged it before they even started airing the show. For those that pay attention to nerd websites or whatever, like we do, they were like forthcoming about that. You know, so I respect that. I respect that they said that, like, to set expectations.
Yeah, they weren't trying to pull the wool over your eyes. You know?
I think they did that, and then talked about the helmet thing really quickly to kind of set people at ease. So.
Pablo had a great answer for that. Pablo Schreiber, the guy who's playing Master Chief, he basically, it was the Mandalorian thing. He was basically like, Mandalorian has this whole lore and like religious reason for keeping his helmet on. Master Chief doesn't. Like, in the show they even asked him, like, the girl asks him, like, why do you keep that on? He's like, oh, I need to see my HUD. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, no, because the game HUD is what he sees in the helmet. So, like, it's true though. Like, I have to.
I gotta see how many bullets I have.
Yeah,
he does say something
advantage. Like that. So it's like, oh, that's a weak ass reason. Okay, well, all right. And then when he takes it off, I'm less bothered because he already says. You're right.
With the Mandalorian, it was explained in a way that I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, no one can see him. Right. And when he took it off, even I was like, no, don't take it off. Like, that's your.
Yeah.
That's the core of who you are. Like, so
and in this one, it's just our baggage that we're carrying from the games.
Well, in the games, there are times when he'll take it off. It's just they cleverly don't show you his face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, others can see his face. There are times throughout the game stories where he'll put the helmet down beside him, or before he puts it on. People see him without it on. I think even in Infinite, right? Doesn't an Infinite?
I think you're right. Yeah,
it's a suit of armor. Like, it's not like it's not glued to him. You know? Like, But this whole idea that, like, he's not allowed to take it off is so silly to me, because, like, there's not even a piece of lore in the book that talks about.
It's Bungie's fault.
I don't take out my armor. You know, he never says that. It's just we don't see it because it's a video game and we're supposed to imprint ourselves on this mask, or this faceless person, this mask. You know.
That's it.
Which Bungie said in an interview. They actually literally said that. So.
They're like, "Oops, we created something here."
That's just people wanting to pretend the Halo lore is deep or something. So.
Whoa!
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't know.
It actually goes a long way, but
to know how deep it goes. But
I was gonna just say though that that's why I don't mind them going whatever direction they want with the story. Just make it really good, because I have enjoyed individual storylines within Halo games. Yeah. I don't necessarily like. To me, it's not this big sweeping epic that must be followed. There's just, I don't know, and maybe I'm totally missing it, but I've never felt that way about Halo like I do about maybe other properties, where I'm like, well, if you hear from the story, what's the point? Like for Last of Us, if they really go off the rails in a totally different direction, I'm like, well, then why not just make your own apocalyptic zombie show? You know what I mean? Like that's going to kind of bother me if they go way, way off. But anyway,
The Last of Us is very, very, very story driven. So it's like, it'd be really weird if like they're like, we're going to do a different story. It's like,
right.
Okay.
I know they're going to add in characters and maybe some side stories because they need to stretch out the content, so to speak. So,
I'm expecting them to do things that aren't my favorite, but I'm still hoping that it's good.
The elites look good in the show.
Yeah,
they look really good. Like the Covenant, like they're like, I was like,
oh, okay, the special effects look good.
Yeah, the special effects look good. You know, in the show. So
okay,
I agree with that. Yeah, when that plasma sword went through somebody, how smooth it was when it happened.
Yeah. It was pretty.
I was like, oh, that's pretty clever.
In fact, anything with the plasma sword in this is awesome. There are some times where Master Chief jumps, and I'm like, okay, that's that looks a little. All right, yeah, that looked like it was in.
Does
like
he
Photoshop.
teabag anybody?
No, but I think I made that joke. I'm just like, oh, I just wish he like bent over like in a way where it looked like he was teabagging on somebody.
Yeah,
like, people who were in on the joke knew, you know. But
dude, there's a whole It's Always Sunny podcast episode where they talk about teabagging, and it's really funny. And they're talking very seriously about it, like where it came from and how it's like, well, in certain scenarios, this would be assault, you know, and like
certain scenarios. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's pretty funny.
I love that show. That's like probably my favorite podcast right now. It's on
the podcast is so fun, and because they're hilarious. Like those three guys are hilarious, and you are totally right. They are very much their characters in a way. Like their characters are caricature, blown up, insane versions of themselves, but they really are those. Like they had a whole episode just about Mac almost getting into a fight with a guy at the drive for In-N-Out, and they didn't even talk about the episode of the show.
Yeah, they were like, whoops.
They just talked about getting into a fight in front of your kids and whether or not you shouldn't, and they have a whole thing where they're arguing because the guy who plays his name's Glenn Howerton. He plays Dennis. Yeah. You can tell he's pretty tightly wound as a real life person. Yeah. And they make fun of him for it, which is great. He acknowledges it, and so he has a lot of strong opinions about parking in LA since it's hard to. And so they have a whole thing where they are kind of going back and forth and teasing each other, kind of, but he's not really having fun with it about how close you're supposed to park to the column to make space for other cars. They pause the recording and go out and measure. And then they come back and report. It's just so fun. I'm like, these guys like. And
then in future episodes, they mention like Rob, I think, started the next episode going, I parked really close to your car. Like he parked like in two.
No, the next episode, he knew that Dennis was so pissed off about this. The next episode, he parked diagonally across both spots, so Dennis couldn't park at all. Or something. It was something like that. Or Charlie.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
That's amazing.
Like that. Yeah,
man,
it's really good.
Guys.
Of course, I'm watching that. I think I've mentioned before that I'm going through all the Marvel movies with my kids. We just got to, I think, what is universally considered one of the lesser of the overall Spider-Man movies, and that's Far From Home. And I understand. Right, so it certainly has its issues, but watching it with kids, especially, that's a really fun movie. If you just kind of let go of, there's several like, I don't know what the right word is. I want to say plot holes, but not really. There's just questionable decision making in where they took the story. We all agree on that, I think.
Yeah.
But the performances aren't bad. I think Jake Gyllenhaal actually does a really good job. I think they all do a good job. Yeah. And the twist, if you're like an 11-year-old kid, you don't see it coming, and you're like, oh, cool, he's good. And then there's a twist moment, and I saw it on all their faces. They're like, oh, as they're putting together like what was happening, or what he's doing, and the big mistake.
I'm assuming they don't actually know the lore of Mysterio, right?
They know,
so that adds to it.
They just know that he was a bad guy. Like I thought in the comics, he was one of his bad guys, and I was like, yeah, but sometimes the bad guys team up with the good guys. I was trying to like not give it away.
Nice.
Sure.
And
smart.
And it was my 14-year-old figured it out and kind of whispered to me. He's like, he's gonna turn bad, isn't he? I was like, no, But that made it so much more fun because their reaction to the quote unquote twist, which most people saw coming, it was just fun. It made it way more fun. And even the end when the big reveal, that after credits scene, and he kind of his life gets blown up there leading into No Way Home. I was like, okay, I need to watch more of these movies with my kids and be less of a curmudgeonly critic about some stuff. You know,
I love Spider-Man, dude. So like, I mean, I remember even watching the third one back in the day, but like, I like that movie. I mean,
oh man, I defended that movie so hard.
Like,
with Venom and Sandman. And So when we got to that one, my kids were like, "That's the best one." Like that was after watching Spider-Man 2. So I'm like internally going, "How could my kids be so wrong about this?"
But sometimes they're wrong. It's okay. Yeah.
Sometimes they're wrong. Yeah.
But I just turned it into like, what would you like about it? And they loved there was all these different villains and all these things are going on at once. They loved that. Even though in my mind I'm going like, well, that's why the story was so poorly told, is because they tried to do too much. But
what you love,
I'm glad you liked it.
See, the thing for me,
I think watching Spider-Man 3 with my dad was the most enlightening watch of that movie, because there was a part where Peter finally was like letting go of the Venom suit and he's got the original suit in his hands, and my dad goes, I just wish you would just go out there and do shit.
Dude,
And I was like,
stuff in that movie.
I was like, that's a really good point because
so much stuff is supposed to be going on.
There's just a lot of inner turmoil the whole movie, and not a lot of fighting. Like, so he's just. That's what my dad likes is the fighting.
He's like, dude, get off your ass and go be a superhero.
Yeah, well, for a movie with 9 villains or whatever, there was a lot of like walking around and doing nothing. So.
Well, they were all pretty bummed when his buddy Harry really truly starts to hate him after the end of 2 and into 3. So they loved when Harry gets injured and he all of a sudden likes him again. He's real friendly. So there was like this kind of sigh of relief, like, oh, they're friends again. And so I think they kind of liked his, call it an arc. Listen, I think it was still kind of poorly done, but his kind of quote unquote arc to the end, the big final scene. It's like, all right. And so I think we all kind of, I appreciate it a little more than probably I had in the past. But even then, it's still the worst of all the Spider-Man movies. But it's not.
I remember everybody in my theater booed when I saw it opening night. And
oh my god!
I had never seen anything like that in my entire life. Even to this day, it was a once in a lifetime thing. And
like when it was over, when the credits rolled.
Yes, like the second the credits started rolling, just. Like everybody, and like I took like 8 friends to see this movie. I convinced like 8 idiots to see this movie, and all of them turned at me and was just like, "You don't get to pick movies again." And like for me being a movie guy, like
that's good. That's really good. That's really
like
good.
The movie's listening, right? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry
when
for
I
wasting
think
your
about
time.
when I think about that movie, it comes with a baggage of embarrassment.
That's fair. That's totally
honestly
fair.
For me, it's just Venom wasn't done right. Like he didn't look right. He's supposed to be huge and menacing and like horrifying. Like so, it was really for me just
He's
that.
Sleek and cool in this movie.
And I mean, like, I like him in some roles, but I just didn't like Topher Grace in that role.
That too.
I agree. Yeah. And I know what they were trying to do because Topher Grace was still pretty hot on that 70s show, and he kind of resembles Tobey Maguire.
He was on the fence of becoming a leading man. Like he had, like, you know what I mean? Like Hollywood was kind of playing around with him being a leading man potentially.
Yeah, he was in that Dennis Quaid movie.
Rom-com, right?
Yeah, where he dates his daughter or something. Yep. And I remember liking that movie, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's got potential."
If you look back in the mid 2000s, you'll see his face on a bunch of DVD covers. Like they were trying. He was close, but he never broke through.
Was he on Win a Date with Tad Hamilton too? I think that was him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's like now we know he's suited for certain movies,
certain things.
Well, and
for being a side piece on Interstellar. That's what.
More recently, he did "Take Me Home Tonight," which is like an '80s themed.
I like that movie. That has Chris,
and I love
Chris
that movie.
Pratt has a small role in that movie too.
Chris Pratt is in that movie with wife at the time, Anna Faris. Yep. And that movie's funny. Dan Fogel, and he's good in that movie. But like again, this was like 10 years after Hollywood rejected him as. Like,
so my kids have all liked the original trilogy. They liked it a lot. They thought Amazing Spider-Man was good, but they thought it was just overall very sad, and that's true. Like that, the vibe,
dude. The
vibe of those, even the first one with the dad. Sorry if it's a spoiler for anybody, but with Gwen's dad dying, like even that vibe is just kind of that whole thing was a little sad, and then just kind of had a somber vibe to it. And then the second one, I mean, boy, I wish he had a third movie because I feel like the third one could have been that upswing or something because it was a bummer. That second one was a bummer.
I mean,
even more so. Yeah,
that is honestly like that's what you have to have with Spider-Man if you're gonna try to be sort of paying respects to the comics. That's just what Spider-Man's like. With great power comes great responsibility. He's just this kid who's just a normal kid. He does have these extraordinary powers, and he's just constantly dealing with loss and like balancing real life with being the superhero. Like that's literally what his vibe is. So it makes sense for sure.
So I think, but throughout the rewatches, I feel like I've got a new appreciation for Homecoming. That one just has charm.
Yeah, Homecoming's
to the nines.
Awesome.
It's so fun.
The movie is
and Michael
too much Iron Man. Too much Iron Man, guys. You guys are.
He's in like 5 minutes of screen time, and people still complain about that. That's so funny to me.
Well, there's a couple like little misdirection moments in that movie too that I'd forgotten about. Things like him thinking he wasn't there, and he steps out of the suit like face to face. Like I thought those moments were really well done.
Great scene too.
It's a great scene, and it's it's a good kind of like hero. There's a couple of hero moments for Peter in that movie that the other ones had as well. Especially, I think Spider-Man 2 had a lot of these hero moments for Tobey Maguire's Peter, and Homecoming had some of those. Those like
the rubble.
The rubble moment, like those moments that kind of just give you chills. You're like, oh man, he just became Spider-Man for real. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a whole lot of moments.
I love the entire DC sequence. It gets swept under the rug sometimes with these MCU movies because there's so many great action sequences, but I love that entire DC sequence. It's so awesome. Like flipping around the helicopter, using it to like slingshot into the window, the tiny freaking window, and catch the elevator, and like everybody's crawling up to exit or whatever. Oh my god, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good.
The big reveal of the movie is awesome too.
The big reveal is good.
It's still like kind of. I remember
the movie where when he kind of decides to just try to live his life and do what Tony said, and then he goes to knock on the door of the girl, and then the guy who was there, the dad.
That's a great reveal too. Yeah.
That's the reveal I'm talking about. Yeah.
Whoa! And then him figuring out on the car drive because Peter's too young to know how to hide it correctly. It's just
back to back great.
And Michael Keaton's face when he realizes it, I was like, oh my gosh, he's really delivering
like DC. Good old Spider-Man.
Yeah, good old.
Such a great line read. Or he made it up. I don't know.
Well, the same thing when he had Peter stay in the car and he talked to him like that too. It was just, dude, that movie's fantastic.
I thought he kind of casually turns the gun. He turns around and he's got the gun in his hand already.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
So I still
Evil
think
Batman.
Far From Home is probably, for the Tom Holland movies, it's the weakest of those three.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere in my opinion, I think it's above Spider-Man 3 of the original personally. And I think it's somewhere in the mix with the two Amazing Spider-Man movies, which both had good and bad moments, I thought. So I don't know.
People hate the second Amazing Spider-Man, and I'm like, I don't know why.
I gotta be honest, that hate was so loud, I never saw it. So, and I'm never impressionable.
I think the Green Goblin look was kind of not great.
Oh, that was
I remember the marketing kind of.
That was another weird cast. Dane DeHaan in that role was just not a great cast there.
Jamie Foxx, I honestly didn't like. I did not dislike that. I thought it was actually pretty cool. Him glowing blue. I don't know. I visually thought it looked cool.
Might be the coolest. Villain theme music. If you go back and listen to those scenes, that kind of rock and roll chug that kicks in every time he shows up is
I don't remember,
really well done. That's
a Hans Zimmer score for you right there, dude. That's a Hans Zimmer peak Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, you can feel oh, he's arrived. He's Electro's about to show up.
And it's not just Hans Zimmer. He formed a super group of 5 composers for that movie. And you can tell Junkie XL is in on it. I think somebody from Radiohead's in on it. There's a lot of people on that score, and it's one of my favorites because of that. But I do remember going into the Amazing Spider-Man 2 going, this movie's trash, and then I watched it and went, that wasn't trash. Then I feel like every other time I revisit it, I have to remind myself it's not trash. I go through it, and then I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad.
I don't think it is.
I feel like people were loud enough about it where that just
they were very
also
loud.
His suit is one of the best versions out of all of them. I think.
I actually like Andrew Garfield's suit, in both of those movies.
Especially in the second one, because in the first one it was a little weird. He almost looked like he had weird sneakers on, built into the suit, and it had almost a basketball texture. The look of it had sort of the texture.
It did. You're right. Yeah, the first
had
one
a weird
really
basketball suit. But the second one is fantastic. I love.
I did like the ultimate in the first one, Amazing Spider-Man, him kind of having that moment with Gwen's dad. I did like that.
Yeah.
That was a great scene. But you're saying, Tim, as far as watching it with family and stuff, I totally understand it's a little too heavy and somber.
It is pretty somber. And Dan, you're right. To give true homage to the character, I get it. You got to have those heavy moments and him experiencing loss. But those hit it a little harder than the original trilogy and harder even in the Tom Holland trilogy, which we know in No Way Home there's a sad loss there as well, and then there's a different non-death loss at the very end, which is a different kind of loss where you're kind of losing history, losing relationship. That's sad too. But it's just different. It didn't have the same heavy feel any of those than
the Gwen Stacy hit is pretty hard. I mean, it was hard in the comics back when it first happened. Yeah,
it's it's really Andrew Garfield's fault for being such a good actor.
Yeah.
It's Andrew Garfield.
I always thought that was a way too. I was like, they would never adapt that, but they ended up.
Andrew Garfield, after this year especially, I'm almost tempted to call him the best working actor right now. Seriously, he is amazing.
Yeah. I love him, and he's been in a bunch of really good roles. Even stuff like Hacksaw Ridge, which isn't everyone's cup of tea. I get it.
Dude, that movie is great. I think mostly because of him and Vince Vaughn. Actually, Vince Vaughn is surprisingly really great in that movie.
Yeah.
But
that movie has some of the most brutal battlefield scenes, though. So if you can't handle gore, watch out for that.
And it's very deliberate. As much as Mel Gibson is not great, whatever. But
that movie, sure.
Yes.
I only watch movies made by perfect people.
But it's very deliberate and he's surrounded by all these people blowing up in a super violent fashion, but he still refuses to pick up a weapon.
He's just helping people. He just wants to help. Oh gosh, I love him in that movie. Okay, I know we went down the rabbit trail there, but I wanted to share stuff I'm watching. That's what we're. And so I think tomorrow, if time permits, I've been putting together this play set. We're gonna watch No Way Home tomorrow, if time permits. I'm putting together this play set, and didn't really think about. If you order it online and they deliver it, none of it's put together. Like not one little single piece of wood connection bracket, anything is put together. So they have a literal box inside the box of all the hardware. So there's probably 30 different bags of different screws and nuts and bolts and stuff, and it's holy smokes, dude! It's a project. I probably put in 6 hours on it today.
Pay money for stuff that you have to work on. It's my favorite.
You're buying a project,
yeah. And then they charge you an obscene amount of money to we'll do it for
assembly.
You.
Well, just give us like $50.
I didn't pay a lot of money, and I know it's not as difficult as what you're facing, even though I haven't seen it. But I just paid like $60 for a work desk, and only reason why I bought it is because I was like, this looks really easy. This should be doable.
Yeah.
And I get it in, and I'm not saying it's hard. I looked at it. I opened up pieces,
simple.
And it's not simple. And then the instruction pieces don't match the pieces that I'm looking at to a T. And so I started ranting because that's what I do. And I'm like, how hard is it to put a sticker on this saying this is H1?
Yep.
And this is H2 since they fucking look the same, you assholes.
Dude,
I get angry.
I've hit 3 times today where I've got all the pieces, and these are big, heavy pieces of lumber, right, for this playground. You got to prop them all up, and I get them all together. And then on the next step, it says, it kind of just shows you these little guide holes that you're supposed to have facing the right direction. And I had those little guide holes. I'll keep saying them. I had them facing. It was like the wrong way on the beam. The beam was just flipped the wrong way. But on the picture, it didn't show me that. It didn't have an arrow on there. It doesn't tell you. So now I have to. There's no way to do it.
It's what Derek was just saying combined with that.
I have to disassemble that whole beam.
It's not that hard and does not cost them a lot of money. To simply put a sticker on saying this is A1, this is A2, this is H1, this is H2. It's not that hard. And it's ridiculous that they sell stuff that way. But anyways, that's another rant.
Furniture should have accessibility options. I agree.
Amen.
Furniture
should have an easy mode.
It's got to be hard mode.
Well, I think
I've got easy mode.
I got the most difficult elements put together. It's like if you've seen a standard playground where you have kind of like the fort side where you have a slide coming off of it, you have a couple of different ways to climb up. That's the most tedious. I did all that today. And the next
all by yourself?
My kids are helping a little bit, but pretty much all of them.
He's by himself.
I'm by myself. Actually, to be fair to them in particular, have been quite helpful. I'll just be like, all right, I need 3 of the S3 and 2 of the A24, and they'll run and try to like dig through all the stuff.
Yeah.
So that actually does.
Keeps asking his wife for the guide hole. Where's the guide hole?
Where's the guide hole?
Let me see. Where's the department I call?
Oh, you found it, honey. But you found it a lot.
Tomorrow, all I have to do is there's a main beam and then the little A-frame on the side and the swings. Those are much easier. I'll do that tomorrow. And so, if there's time, we're gonna watch No Way Home and wrap up our Spider-Man 8 movie marathon, which has been a lot of fun. Those movies are all really fun, and then it's back to the Marvel stuff. The kids want to get into the stuff that they haven't seen after Endgame, including Shang-Chi and Eternals, and I'm not sure that we'll watch What If. That show's freaking weird, even though it's cartoons. Like that's pretty messed up, some of it. So I don't know if we'll watch that.
Dude, but the rest... and then there's like 4 episodes in a row that are the most depressing episodes I've ever seen in my life.
They're very sad. So we might just stick to we might do the WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye. We might do that swing of things because those are pretty fun.
Yeah.
Hawkeye
for sure.
I could see like kids loving Hawkeye. Yeah.
I think WandaVision will be a little weird, but they do want to find. They kept asking me if Vision's dead, and I'm like, yeah. And as much as he could be dead, it's not like
Was he ever alive?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is
existential
what
crisis?
Is being alive?
I just basically told him, you find out what they're going to do with Vision sort of at the end of WandaVision. You get an idea of where they might be going with that character. I don't know.
I really hope they actually take that to just go all the way with it, because I think he actually has potential to be a really great character. And
I like the memes lately where it's like, where did he fly off to at the end? It's like, how long has gone on, and we're like, I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, he's finding himself.
Well, that's all stuff that we are currently watching, have been watching. Let's talk about stuff we're playing. There's 3 big games that just dropped at the end of this week, and
thank God.
It's not like I know we needed some stuff to play, which is it's been just a dry spell.
To be fair, it is kind of gonna it looks like we are gonna get into a little bit of a dry spell.
That's fine.
We need one.
Yeah, I'm good with that. And the thing is, it depends on who you are. Like, if there might be some niche games or re-releases coming out that are really your thing. I'm kind of glad that Nintendo delayed the Advance Wars reboot camp games because I'm totally gonna play those, but I just was like, when am I gonna find time for these? Like, I don't have time for these.
Getting delayed.
Forspoken and delayed is fine with me out of May. Anyway, the ones that are out, we'll go just alphabetical through these 3. We've got Ghostwire Tokyo, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands that we'll talk about, in addition to anything else that you guys have wrapped up. But let's start with Ghostwire Tokyo from Tango Gameworks. Of course, this is now a Microsoft-owned studio, but this was a PlayStation 5 exclusive that was decided a long time ago. So it is truly a PS5 exclusive at the moment, or PS4, PS5?
PS4, PS5, yeah.
Yeah, and then PC. What do you guys think so far? I played through the first chapter last night and kind of just started the second chapter, but I didn't go much farther than that. You guys playing it at all?
Yeah,
I am.
What do you think?
I'll just start. I got to where Tim got. It was actually the first game I booted up because Tiny Tina wasn't downloaded yet. So I started playing that, and so far, I guess to me it comes down to expectations. First of all, I had 0 expectations for this game. I was not even gonna buy it until I just texted Tim and I was like, "Do you want to go halves? I think it would be worth us checking out for just the show in general." And he's like, "Yeah." So that's the only reason why I bought it, is we went halves on it. And I think it's with those low expectations and the reviews making it sound. Look, the review scores aren't bad. They're all in between 7 and 8.
Swimming in 7s.
Mm-hmm.
But the way if you actually listen to most reviews, I'm not saying all, they make it sound like it's just a bad game with a great city. Like, hey, I just like exploring the city. But the game is not fun to play. The story's not good. The characters, I'm like, well, then how the heck do you get a 7? But whatever. So I'm playing it with real low expectations. I get in there and I'm like, okay, this is not bad at all. It plays like a first-person shooter, which that was one of my main concerns. Is as I'm watching the videos, I'm like, what is all this spell stuff? Like, is this going to be overcomplicated? Is this going to be a bunch of like mashing buttons and combos and all this stuff? And I'm like, no, it's you aim and shoot. Like your fingers or your hand, which your fingers, 2 fingers, is a gun. You just sit there and boom, boom, boom. Does it feel like an amazing first-person shooter? No, but it works. And I saw as I started unlocking some stuff, I was like, okay, cool. There's skill trees and there's unlockables, so this is going to get a little bit more complex. So far, again, early on, I don't have a problem with the characters. I love the world, and I'm intrigued by the story so far.
The lore seems really interesting.
There's nothing like...
The visuals are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen this before, but it's also there's nothing that's like, well, this is uninteresting. Right. It actually has a little bit of a hook of like, well, I want to play this. So for me, I like it. My first impressions is I think this is, if you're on the fence, this is a game. If you watch the reviews again and you're okay with the stuff they're saying and you're seeing, this is a game you should be buying. If you're not, I do think waiting's not a bad thing, only because I do think this game will drop pretty quick. I think you'll get a $20 discount in 2 to 3 weeks. 4 weeks.
Definitely an action game. Anyone looking at this thinking this is just a horror game? Like, yeah, it's a horror game, but it's the
not
action
really.
side.
It's got horror. It's not survival. It's got
horror elements, but
survival.
From everybody who's like reviews that I've read so far, they're just like, I don't know if I was ever scared while playing it. I'm
like Evil Within is terrifying. Like,
yeah, Evil Within scares the crap out of me. Yeah. So this being made by the same guy,
So that's my general impressions. I think it's good
playing this one.
Yeah, I'm like 2.5 hours in, and I just did a side quest that like really put the visuals, and like when I say that, I don't mean like the fidelity, the 4K and the HDR. I mean like the vibes and like the aesthetic and stuff like that. I'm gonna purify this house. You know what I mean? Like there's
that one, yeah.
Oh, did you play this one, Dan? Yeah, this one's really good. The grandma, she's looking for her daughter, who she thinks is trapped in this house. And mind you, everyone's dead in this city, so you're helping ghosts and stuff like that. When you go into this house, you know, the first 5 seconds of this game, that's what happens.
Literally no respect.
It's voiced by Channing Tatum, who learned Japanese.
Brad Pitt's also in this movie / video game. Anyways, yeah, so like you're trying to find this little girl, but as you're going through this house or whatever, like things about the house are like changing. There's rooms that are flipping upside down. Like it's almost like you're in a completely different ethereal place. Like it just everything shifts around you, kind of like Control. Like it's got like Control vibes.
Very Control.
You know, in the way that things get just psychedelic and weird and stuff like that. And I really like that part of it. You know, there's a part at the very beginning, which I think maybe we've all gotten to if we played chapter 1, where he wakes up in like a white room with like red flowers everywhere, you know, and it's just like, it's just weird looking, you know, it's just ethereal for the sake of it. And I like that. I like how like dramatically weird this game is.
Well, even that scene where you first get introduced to what I assume is the antagonist and his group of antagonist buddies. And that scene is kind of like, again, not spooky, but kind of like, dude, those guys look messed up.
Well,
and
they're
menacing,
right?
And
there's some menacing going on.
It's very menacing. That's a good word for it. And I could also tell, like, all right, those are some of the bosses I'll be fighting later, and he's going to be the main boss. Like, just what it had, the vibe that I get.
They're all going to have.
It's almost like
powers,
Resident Evil 8, right? Like when like you're in the room and you're obviously those characters are more unique, but like these are like these 3 other individuals with their uniquely different masks.
Yep. And I remember seeing the doll character in that moment being like, well, I don't want to go wherever she is. And I I hated it. I knew I would hate it.
And you definitely didn't want to go there after the fact. Like,
no.
I've been doing a lot of so I'm like about 4 hours in, but like after doing that side quest that you just mentioned, and then there's when you go back to his apartment, should we mention that, just like kind of like what's going on as far as like the main character and the other person?
I haven't gotten there yet, so.
No, but I'm saying the person that's going along with you on this journey, so to speak.
Yeah, there's definitely a possessing situation.
It's in the trailers,
possession thing happening.
But essentially KK inside of another guy named Akido or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's two people in one body type of situation.
So gay porn, got it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
2 dudes inside of each other.
Oh no, at the beginning of chapter 2, he's
had my curiosity, but now you have my
He's back in his apartment in part 2, and his face is kind of looking a little different now. Like, that's right. I remember what you're talking about.
So that was like the last main thing, and then I've just kind of been going around doing some side quests. So it does have a little bit of a checkboxy feel to it, but then like I think like some of those side quests, like the one that Kyle just mentioned, makes it changes it up a little bit, adds a little more to it, because like you said, you go inside and there's kind of unique things happening. You can pet dogs in the game, so this game's a 10 out of 10 as far as I'm concerned.
There you go.
Pet dogs and cat. I pet a cat. You can pet a cat too.
Dude, and when you read their thoughts, the cats, like the little blurb you read at the bottom, totally cat-like. Just like
the cat's like I'm sad or whatever. I forget what it says.
Or like, what the hell's going on here? I'm pissed.
I always assumed cats were just thinking, if I were bigger, I would eat you. That's what I assumed cats were.
Probably,
the yokais are cats with two tails, and they have like a coat on, so that's pretty cute.
Yeah.
And you can buy stuff from them. You just go in the shop and they're just floating there.
Stores,
which is awesome. No, I mean so this is Shibuya, right?
Shibuya.
Yeah, Shibuya, and it's perfectly just translated. I would say, like, just the lighting and you can, like, when you pass certain like shops or like I guess like bars or whatever, you can hear like the music kind of faintly still playing, but you see clothes all strewed about on the ground. Like, just the vibes that they're nailing of like what the premise of this game is, and everybody having just sort of like disappeared because the fog came rolling in and just turned them all into
a very raptured world.
It's a very wet city. Exactly. Everything was like puddly and wet all the time.
It rains
but those puddle like reflections
are
great. Some of the best I've ever seen, maybe ever. I don't know.
They look great, but I'm like, why is everything so wet all the time?
Yeah.
I think it does rain a lot in Japan, so I think they're kind of just they're nailing that.
That's racist.
Okay, sure. Let's spend 5 minutes here. Please explain.
You made an assumption about a location.
You know what you did.
Quiet down.
Listen, this game is approved by some libtard magazine that said it does it better.
Oh yes, sure,
than Sifu and Ghost of Tsushima.
You see, those were all white guys who did those games. So
actually, we're all racist for liking this game if we do like it. So
that's true.
I was like, weren't the Ghost of Tsushima guys given like the keys of the island or something like that, like in some sort of like major?
It doesn't matter.
Like
represent. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, we should only play games that are made by people who look like us and that express our experiences.
I better not catch Yeah.
Yeah, if you play anything outside or watch anything outside of that, then you're appropriating people's enjoyment. I
I
think.
better not catch y'all watching anything outside of your race.
Oh my gosh.
I never need y'all reaching out ever.
Derek, Derek and
you
I
guys are not allowed to play this game, so I don't know what we're doing talking about.
Jeff's like, I didn't play it. What's wrong with you?
How woke of you, Jeff?
Derek and I played Deathloop the most. As far as the controls go, are you getting like a Deathloop? I don't know if you had problems with the controls. Maybe you played on PC. There's kind of like a clunkiness to the controls as far as
I was actually gonna say. And I heard them talking about this on
Game
Scoop. I had to adjust mine too. I highly recommend you adjust them because
I have adjusted
sensitivity.
I haven't found.
I'm gonna adjust mine. I forgot I was supposed to do that, and
it feels really
slow. I was gonna bring that up as a negative.
Sasan mention it to Kyle. He posted a video saying to adjust these controls. So I watched the video and I was like, okay, I'll just do it. Like I hadn't even played the game. I was like, I'll just adjust it to what I think I remember Mark Medina from IGN telling us to do, and that's basically turn the sensitivity all the way up to 100 for both. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But my point is it makes everything quicker because when you play it at the regular settings, it's actually got a little bit of lag input.
Which is why I kept on calling it. I was like, it feels like an Xbox Generation 1 like video game.
It's just
like Breakthrough or something like that, like one of those really old.
It's like slogging through. It's just slow.
Yeah. So I think that is gonna help, and I'm gonna do that. When I get back on.
So the controls are a little clunky, but yeah, like I do. Again, it's these games like Forspoken similar. Like focusing on magic, I think is really cool as opposed to just the traditional sword or spear or whatever.
They do give you automatic aim assist, which is important because your main attack is essentially you're shooting. I think at first at least it's wind, right? It's wind attack. But it's like a single shot. It's like having a single shot rifle, and so missing is a big deal, right? You're probably gonna get hit if you miss. So using the auto aim,
some of those enemies are aggressive.
Yeah,
some of them.
And I do like that clearly there's like there's sort of like a evolution to the you could charge up the wind attack. So if you like hold it there for a while, then it does like a double shot, which is cool. So obviously there's going to be like, and with the leveling up that Derek mentioned, you're obviously probably going to be able to.
I'll tell you where
stealth is
what I ended up liking because, like I said, the shooting mechanics are pretty bland. Even if you up the sensitivity, it's pretty bland. What got me going? Okay, this could be pretty cool. And now I want to see what else I unlock is when you start shooting the enemies until you basically break them, and then you can basically tear them apart and pull and that's when I was like, okay, now you're, even if it's just an aesthetics things and shiny lights and all that stuff, I was like, it had that vibe that you're really like ripping these guys apart, and I like that.
That extra mechanic is great.
And you do have to put a little bit
of... it looks cool too. You pull the strings and then kind of like...
That's what I'm saying. It looks cool because I saw that in all the previews and reviews, and I was like, what are they doing to do all that stuff? This looks chaotic.
I was worried about it,
But no, it
gives you a very clear. It gives you very clear like signal, like, hey, now hold L2.
Real simple,
which is nice.
And you can't just like sort of plow through the enemies too. Like if you're trying to rip the soul out of one of them, but one of them's coming at you and then he's real close. He'll whack you, and then like you sort of almost have to start over, like and almost like
your window to do that closes.
Right. Yeah. So you do have to kind of like actually be like purposeful with your attacks, so to speak. And
it's funny.
It sounds like
where it's like, wow, there's way more people here than I thought there were.
Yeah.
Overall, we like this.
We do. Start. I just need more time with it. Yeah.
This feels more time.
This feels more appropriately a Swimming in Sevens game versus Stranger of Paradise, which is I'm drowning when I'm not.
Are you still playing that game, Dan? Are you still playing
I'm trying to finish Horizon. I got up to that part where I mentioned the other day, and Jeff was like, that part, that part's Whew.
A lot of things happen in a row. Gemini.
I can give you a pro tip on how to finish Horizon real fast.
Okay.
I can
treat everyone like a woman. Don't listen to them talk. Blah blah.
Cut off 8 hours from that game right there.
God's sake.
Skip.
You're the worst.
You're the worst. Yeah,
and then watch a YouTube video about it later.
That sounds like the worst thing in the entire world to me.
When we're talking about the pulling the heart out of the enemies in Ghostwire, it reminds me of the one mechanic from that game Recore that kind of made it interesting because that game is pretty bland and repetitive.
I didn't even play it long enough to get to whatever you're gonna say.
But there is a cool mechanic where you're literally pulling the core out of those machines during, like, once you get their weak spot, whatever, and then you can pull the core out, and then you can use it to upgrade your machines or whatever.
But I felt like that was more, if I remember correctly, we're talking 6 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a little more complicated to figure out how to pull the core out.
That was part of the problem, was one of the more fun mechanics they introduced. Like, oh, this is unique. It didn't happen enough because you can't do it to every enemy, and it was more complex to get to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, had a similar vibe where it's like, there's the opening, you have a window to hit the right button, and then you have to, your character's like really pulling really hard to get the core out.
Reminds me of the Doom or Doom Eternal melees. Just hearing that described.
Yeah.
Where, like, you'd shoot them to a certain point. If they're blinking, you can go up to them and tear their leg off.
Tear them apart.
It is very much like
use their arm to stab them through the throat. Just something like that.
Yeah, those are some of the best executions ever.
Yeah, so that gets a little repetitive because there's so many freaking enemies in those games, but it's still fun.
Yeah,
it's still fun. And then to keep sprinting around the room because you will die if you stop moving.
Exactly.
All right.
And you every melee hit, don't you get like health in that game?
You do.
Yep.
Yeah. Very satisfying. The other game that came out,
kind of like Outriders, just FYI.
No, we don't talk about
you guys are interested in playing Outriders.
game.
Speaking of
It's really
don't talk
fast-paced,
about Outriders.
dude, I just thought of we don't talk about Bruno. I just got that song in my head when you said that. All right. The other big game that came out yesterday, the second of the three we'll talk about today, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which admittedly I have not purchased this yet, although my kids and I now have all played through the demo over our break where we went to the cabin. We all had the demo downloaded. We have like 4 Switches in our family now.
That's what I've beaten is the demo.
We played through the demo.
I just bought it, so I haven't played the full thing yet.
Okay. And so we played it, but also when you finish the demo, it'll basically tell you, go back and play now with some of the evolved skills. We've evolved some of the abilities, so you can do that, which is really fun. So we've played through several of the levels several times. We all agree we want to get it. And I know Nintendo games rarely go below like maybe 15% off, so it might go down to like $49 or something. So
if you want to buy it,
these type usually drop to 40, not like right away.
It might go to 40.
It'll drop to 40.
Yeah, it might go to 40. But I think I've got them convinced. Like maybe we'll all chip in some money and buy a physical copy. That way we can share it together.
I mean, it's reviewing really well, so I don't know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. But
it's got like an 84.
Well, they do it based off sales. So anything that's like top tier, like Mario and Zelda, that's going to take years for it to drop. And if you look, they've gotten better. Like I see Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey on sale for $30 to $40 all the time.
I do too.
This game will drop within a couple months.
Then they're putting
CSL.
They put Tropical Freeze up on a freaking pedestal then, because that shit doesn't go on sale like until like maybe once a year.
I've seen it. Yeah, it's Black Friday every year. That's the only.
Yeah,
and even then it's like 50 cents off.
Yeah, and I'm like, come on, like 30, please, $30. Make it $30. I'll buy
it. Get it for 30, bro.
I do have that game if you want to borrow it.
I think all the games that came from Wii U to Switch should all be 20 at this point.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That's absolutely crazy to me.
I agree.
But they won't do that because the Wii U didn't exist.
All that to say, the demo's available. If you have a Switch, go try the demo out. It's actually a good chunk of the game. And
so am I the only one that's bought it, or?
No, Jeff
I bought it. I just didn't play the main game yet.
Well, my wife and I did the first 4 levels.
My wife.
Oh, nice.
My wife.
Wow.
We
and the demo is the first
sexy time.
Isn't the demo the first 3 levels?
Stupid.
There's 3 levels.
Is there 3? I thought there was just 2.
There's 3.
Okay.
It's 3, but one's just a boss fight.
Yeah.
Well, so the one with the one where you're like going inside the mall and all that, I thought that was like the second level you played in the demo, right?
3rd.
Was it? Okay. Well, that's not the sequence in the actual game. So that was actually kind of cool.
I was out of nowhere.
I was anticipating that's how it was going to be, but it's actually a different level. So, I mean, if you played the demo, you get the gist of what the combat is, what the vibes are. He absorbs random objects and just turns, like the car, the cone.
Link sold me. I was like, all right, I'll play as Link.
Dude, the second time through when I beat that boss and I absorbed his power and I had a great sword and like a fur cape, I was like, oh, okay, this is even cooler. Like I didn't know you could do that.
This game is actually really super cool. And I would be buying this day one if I wasn't going through the stuff I was going through. Plus, I've got like 75 games that I'm playing. So
exactly.
That's literally the reason. Like I would say this for me personally, if I could split the cost, like if I was splitting the cost, I would have picked Kirby over Ghostwire. And I like Ghostwire. Y'all heard what I said. But I think Kirby demo-wise was just a more fun game. I was like, oh, and I'm not a Kirby guy. I've never bought a Kirby game in my entire life.
Yeah, the I would say the most clever the series has ever been was maybe Epic Yarn. They kind of took like the yarn aspect within and did some clever stuff, but it's been so long since I played it, I don't remember anything specific. There's definitely moments in this where, again, like when you absorb the sort of random thing, like the car or like the cone or whatever.
And you're driving around.
There's another one, and I'm not gonna say just so you guys are surprised because it's pretty funny. There's another one that's pretty
discovering
funny.
It,
and it's huge, and just the way that he kind of like just sort of waddles along, and it's unique the way that you're using it. It's just they clearly actually put some like kind of effort into making the abilities actually have purpose and meaning, and like kind of implementing that into the gameplay and making
everything is adorable in that game. Even the everything in the game is just so cute.
Yeah,
across the board.
Very colorful. Very
colorful.
I mean, as much as I love Mario 3D World, this is that vibe that I got from this.
Yes.
And
more so than Odyssey, although similarities to Odyssey.
Yeah, I would actually say 3D World is actually spot on because you're doing a lot of sort of like 3D stuff at like sort of the camera's sort of at that angle, and then you fixed, do right. Yeah, and then there's a little bit of side scrolling, like just a little bit. So yeah, that's.
I would not have guessed going into this week that I would have bought Kirby and not Ghostwire.
Yeah,
right,
but that demo just
it
tickled me peach, guys. It just
was it the vending machine?
I was so enamored with it, like that. I was like, I have to buy this game. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
and it felt like just like the palate cleanser I needed from all the. I mean, sure, there is dodging in this game to some degree with some enemies, but it's not like the hit and dodge and.
It's not the Horizon, Tunic, Elden Ring.
Duck, dive, dip, dive, and dodge.
Exactly. Do I have to drink my own urine? No, but I like the taste or whatever he says.
Isn't that Rip Torn?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I love that the original ending of that was going to be like they actually just lost, but then they were like, no, that's too much of a bummer. We have to change that. Like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. That movie's
great. I think we all agree that if you play the demo, very good and charming. It sounds like, Dan, you've been actually playing the full game so far. How's the co-op? Can you play everything co-op? Is it fun?
We haven't done the co-op. We just kind of switched levels back and forth.
Oh, okay.
I feel like when we do co-op, and my wife acknowledges this too, it's almost kind of like me picking her up and trying to carry her with me, so to speak, kind of situation. So it's probably a little easier just to switch back and forth.
You're the pro gamer.
Yeah, I'm a pro gamer, bro.
You want me to carry you everywhere?
I just look at her. I'm like, listen, I beat Sekiro, all right?
He just has a copy of Sekiro that he always holds up, like.
Yeah, it's framed above wherever they sit when they game.
Yeah.
I actually need you to carry me in Retardinal soon.
Okay.
I'm gonna
it's
go
been a
back
while, but I'm a pro gamer, so.
It's been a while.
You're a pro gamer.
It's been a while.
You're a pro gamer.
All right. Well, I do want to try out the co-op too, because that's featured when you finish the demo. It gives you like a little sizzle reel trailer of all the stuff to expect in the full game.
Two Kirby's or
and no, it's one of them.
Waddle Dee with like a bandana. A Waddle Dee with a bandana.
Yeah, and but I think you can also absorb powers as that character, right? Or no?
I would assume, but I don't know for sure.
That's what I was going to ask you how that works.
Because like in Galaxies, like there's co-op, but like someone plays as the star, like it's not like that.
That's what I thought it was going to be, but no, it actually is actually.
You're actually two characters.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Two characters running around, but I wonder if maybe the second character just mirrors whatever power Kirby picks up. That's what I'm assuming it's going to do, but
makes sense.
Who knows? It's just a blast, and it's charming, and it's fantastic. I expected for me to see this game, it would get somewhere in the low 70s, and I'd be like, I probably won't play this. But not only is it getting in the mid 80s, but the demo, like Jeff said, even if the scores weren't in the 80s, which like it is, I'd still be like, this demo is fun. I should get this game.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
So,
it says here has his own unique set of skills and attacks, so that kind of makes it sound like he doesn't absorb.
So he doesn't absorb, but he's got his own limited set of things he can do.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I saw him with the sword in the trailer.
Actually pretty cool. I would rather play as a different character.
Yeah, because he has like a spear, so that's
spear,
like his. Yeah.
Nice. Well, the other game that came out yesterday, it was a busy day, and that was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands has arrived, and got a chance to play with Kyle just for like an hour this afternoon. But I played a bunch last night too, which was fun. This game is a full-on Borderlands game. Like if anyone is, it's kind of like when Elden Ring came out. You're like, hey, it's like not a Dark Souls game. Yeah, it is. It's totally Dark Souls game. And this is 100% a Borderlands game. So like if that's not your thing, like managing a ridiculous amount of loot and trying to use your ridiculously small inventory space,
oh my god,
also like silly fart poop jokes
and
and funny puns and all that kind of stuff. If you're not in the mood for Borderlands, you probably aren't going to really like this game. But if you do like Borderlands, and if it's been a while, like it has been for me since you played one, dude, this timing is great, and I think it's hilarious. I'm not a big fan of first-person perspective in most games.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm not sure that I'll play Ghostwire Tokyo much beyond Chapter 2 or 3. I'll probably play it a little more, but this one I feel like I'm going to keep playing because it was really fun single player, even more fun cooperatively with Kyle, just running around shooting things and the silly, silly storylines and quests you go on. And I love that it's silly because it's just a tabletop game that Tiny Tina is the dungeon master for, essentially, right? So that's what it is.
Hats off to crossplay. Every freaking game should have crossplay. I should be able
Kyle,
to
you were on PlayStation, right?
I was on PlayStation,
PC
and I was on PC.
And play with people.
And it was as easy as could be. You know, like they use some kind of in-thing shift thing or whatever that kind of connects everybody.
Yeah, it's their
It's super easy.
Absolutely. I think it's been easier than most.
It's been easier than most crossplay experiences that I've had, which they've all not been hard, but this has been by far the easiest.
I mean, it's what you expect. You create an account with their proprietary account program, and once you do that, and then you kind of add friends that way, or you just sync them up with your platform friends, and it should connect you.
Yeah.
So it was pretty straightforward, but I'm finding this game to be just kind of that breath of fresh air, lighthearted. It's not really like a story you need to carry about. I mean, listen, the main queen of the kingdom is Butt Stallion, so like it's not. She's
the most beautiful creature on earth, though. So.
The most beautiful. Yeah, the most beautiful.
Derek is a Butt Stallion.
The voice cast is hilarious. Even your main character.
Anything with Will Arnett wins.
Will Arnett as the villain.
More Will Arnett.
Of course, Ashley Birch, who, by the way, I cannot believe that she's also Aloy and doing Tiny Tina. Like, she's really good, man.
I love when she diversifies like this because it doesn't sound anything like her. It's awesome.
I would never have guessed that was her if I didn't know that from the other Borderlands games that I've heard her in. But anyway, she's fantastic. Also, Andy Samberg as Valentine, who you hear him quite a bit.
I knew it. I heard his voice and I was like, that sounds like Andy Samberg.
You didn't know either. Okay,
is he in there?
Yeah, he's Valentine. Yeah.
Tim blew my mind with that today. I was like, I've been trying to figure out who that is this whole time, and now I can't not hear it. Like,
I was doing a Daniel Freitas. I was like, have you seen Avatar?
I was literally waiting. You guys seen Avatar?
Yeah, and Wanda Sykes as the robot. Yeah, I recognize her right away.
Like. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Wanda Sykes is the
not
racist,
robot. Not racist. She just has this distinct voice.
Now we're not being racist.
She got a very distinct voice. So does Andy Samberg. So does Will Arnett. Like when the first voiceover of the game happens, because I knew Will Arnett was in the game, I wasn't sure if it was him or not, because he can really put on this awesome kind of like voice. If you've ever seen anything that he does voices in, he can do all kinds of voices. And then he cuts to like a little aside to the player, like during that voiceover part, and I'm like, that's Will Arnett. Okay, got it. That's absolutely him.
Some big names that they got for this game, huh?
Yeah,
huge names. Yeah.
Really funny. Yeah, really funny. So, what do you guys think about it so far? Are you agreeing? Like, yeah, this is a Borderlands game, and if you like those, you'll like this, or do you feel like it's much different than Borderlands?
I mean, it's Borderlands, but plus more, and it's kind of like, okay, it's not to start a fight. I get why people are like, Elden Ring is Dark Souls. It is. But I don't like when it's simplified to, especially people that have never played it. Like, for instance, Cliffy B got a lot of support, but he got a lot of hate for saying that it's just a reskin of all the Dark Souls games. So it's the same thing with this. Like, is it Borderlands? Absolutely. Would I call it just a straight up reskin?
I wouldn't call it that.
I feel like it goes outside enough of what they're doing. Like, even like the way they're doing the story and how Tiny Tina, even how it really feels like I'm playing a video game role-playing game. But set in a very sarcastic, crazy universe. But as far as gameplay, also,
I do love when she goes, "All right, baby."
Yeah, I like how enthusiastic she is.
I do too.
But also, like, gameplay wise, I like the addition of magic. I like the melee combat, and I like obviously the shooting, that's Borderlands. Yeah. But the other two I listed off, I don't remember. I know there's some melee in Borderlands, but not like this. this is a big part of it. Like you actually get weapons that level up for your melee,
and then you're still just clicking the right stick to use it when you get close. Like it's still.
I know, but I'm saying it's a new feature for Borderlands, really. And then also you have the magic. Just like having magic in a game isn't new, but that for this, it's a special skill and stuff like that you actually use, and you get different ones.
Did they use companions in Borderlands before?
Yeah. There's been some classes that had
some, but usually you had to summon them. Like it'd be like a little turret or.
My spore guy is just hanging around, man.
Yeah, I started with our dragons.
We have wyverns. Yeah.
Kyle and I discovered when we played co-op today that we both designed almost exactly the same white guy with a beard character.
Two white guys.
Both of us picked the same class with the dragon.
I was just walked in like, this is.
Well, I mean, look at you. You both got beards. I mean,
so I went and changed my class to like a beardless red dude instead. I was like, all right, I got to change it up a little bit because I feel like we are too basic bro right now.
I felt very basic.
Very basic. But Kyle said something interesting.
You see my guy, he has no upper lip. It's great.
Jeff makes, when there's a character creator, Jeff will make sure to get every usage out of that character creation system.
I can't wait for his Saints Row.
His eyes go like this.
Yeah, Saints Row characters are crazy. But to Derek's point, where he's talking about the magic and stuff, Kyle said something today while we were playing, and it kind of just struck me like, yeah, that's exactly what this is. This is basically, so you're right, Derek, it's not a reskin of Borderlands, but it is very much a Borderlands game. So if you don't like those games, chances you liking this, I think, aren't super high, but I could be wrong. You might love it because maybe it's got the right aspects that we're missing before. But the magic, Kyle, you said it was like basically, oh, they don't do grenades, but they do magic. They kind of acts like specialized grenades, and that's kind of what those are. It's a little different.
I was actually going to say, while I was playing this, I was like, okay, where's my grenades? And then I started going, you know what? I'm really glad they don't have grenades because that's one of the things that bogged down Borderlands 3 for me is all I would do is just run in and I had fully upgraded grenades. So I had like 13 and I would just throw loft grenades the entire time. And so it just turns into a grenade throwing match. Yeah. Whereas this, I feel like I think they figured that out, and I think they were like,
let's use stuff like magic missile or cluster bomb, like stuff from D&D or Calamity, which is like bringing a meteor down and stuff.
Or like one where you bring a Hydra in and he just comes up and starts shooting water at enemies and stuff like that. Like there's
there's a lot of unique stuff that that you can that feels different, and like there's different versions of every one of those types also, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you travel from world to world, like basically like a old school Final Fantasy game with your overworld.
But there's stuff to do in the overworld, right?
Oh,
you can treasure chests. And
that's
you can't do combat or anything like that, but
you can slap things.
And you can get into random encounters, so like Pokemon style. If a guy hits you,
cool. I like
it opens up an arena that like it's a shooting gallery now.
But if you don't want to fight him right before the enemy hits you can slap it.
You can melee them and you can circumvent that, like any random encounters like that.
And the first NPC that you meet who gives you a side quest, his name is Backstab, by the way, and he's talking a lot about backstabbing. And then he says,
when you turn around,
that guy. I don't know if we can trust that guy. I don't know.
His name is Backstab, and he's like, yeah, you can trust me. And it's like, well, come in. but then he talks about how he teaches you how you can slap enemies before they attack you in this overworld, and he calls it the backstab of the palm. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Backstab of the palm.
I forget, where he's like the palm is like the backstab of the hand or something like that.
Yeah, it was some line like that I thought was great. I mean, there's another line they talk about. You have to go blow up these what were the catapult machines that are like raiding the city at the very beginning. Yeah. And so they give you C4, and like that's not very fantasy, Tina. So she changes it to Fantasy 4.
Yeah, Fantasy 4.
It's just silly, man. Like I'm totally digging the lighthearted vibe. I like the you as one player. They just call you newbie, and then you design your character. So it's you, and then you've got Andy Samberg, Wanda Sykes, and Ashley Birch. You got their characters around the table, and they're talking the whole time. So they're talking about the game, but then they're also it kind of has that feel, like Derek said, of you feel like you're actually playing a role-playing game, but the game then creates the imagination you would normally have if you were playing D&D with friends. Like it just
creates like arguing semantics, like off screen. Like what do you like the fantasy thing, like or the C4 thing.
Like what, we can't get over there. Maybe we should like catapult yourself over there. But we destroyed the catapult. Okay, for this like one time, I'll allow you to use the catapult.
Yeah. It's funny, yeah. Or sometimes like in the overworld, like I came across a Cheeto, and we can't get our way past.
The Cheetos.
Tiny Tina's like, well, that's not a Cheeto. that's a meteor, and you have to do a side mission now, and I have a mission totally prepared already. Hold on. You know, and it's just, it's funny. You know?
Well, the mission that Kyle and I just did together, where you're trying to help this farmer girl win over the heart of this alchemist girl, and things go really in a weird direction with all the things that you have to do. And then by the time it ends, like the girl who gave you the quest in the first place has totally changed her mind on what she wants to do, and it's very, very funny. Like it's very silly, and
the whole thing's silly.
Whole thing's I haven't laughed this hard playing a game set in a fantasy world since Stick of Truth. I feel like the writing is very similar.
To
that. Like in terms of like the name of the lore, like or certain things, like gods or whatever, magic. I'm like, this is very Stick of Truth, because they had like names that were very punny and also inappropriate. And just made me laugh so.
But it's also like named very Tiny Tina-esque. So you've got like the certain weapons will be called a bonk stick. It's stuff that in Borderlands she would name the weapons she would give you, silly stuff like that. And so in this case, you've got lots of stuff like that, like bonk. I just
feel like this is what the Borderlands franchise, even though it's not really Borderlands, needed, because I feel like, and this is from a person who loved Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3, for me and a lot of other people, was still a good Borderlands game, but it was ultimately a letdown because it lost a lot of the humor, a lot of the, like, for instance, the villains, while I thought aesthetically looked cool, they were extremely boring, and they took the whole thing way too serious. And then just even like a lot of the characters weren't funny, and they were trying to have emotional scenes, and I'm like, I don't care about you.
I do wonder if they had different writers for this in terms of the
they did the 2, tone 3, and comedy. Wonderlands and sequel, they all have different writers almost every
I think they switch it every time.
I wonder if the switch over from 3 was because people, I guess maybe over time people have kind of been like kind of grown at the humor of the original.
I don't know. See, and I thought 3. I kind of feel the opposite with them there. I thought 3 was too silly and too dumb, and like tried to be too funny in very stupid and dumb ways. And maybe I just didn't agree with like the comedy, but like the comedy of Borderlands has never really been my thing either.
I mean, humor is tricky, and especially in games.
Yeah, so. I feel like they doubled down on the fartiest of jokes in 3.
Fartiest of jokes.
Just like on the surface type stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, super just like low hanging fruit. Yeah, like type.
But this game sounds clever though. This sounds like
this
they
game
actually
is very clever.
You know how we talked about in Halo Infinite when the little grunts would say funny stuff, and you love that. Like this happens a lot there too. The skeletons are always talking when you kill them, and they'll scream things as they die, like "Give my body to science," like they'll do stuff like that.
Oh my god, dude! I was dying when you saved the first peasant in that first village.
And what kind of peasant? What kind of peasant?
It's a peasant ass, or
peasant-y ass peasant.
Peasant-y ass peasant. And she's like walking away, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so tired from my ass is so peasanty." And I'm like, "This is so stupid. I love it. It's so clever in how dumb it is. It's
I'm having a lot of fun with it. I feel like I'll keep playing this. I like the overworld combined with the random encounter. So is it an open world game? Yes, and that you can go anywhere you want, and there's tons of places to explore. But also, it's more open area. It's hard to explain. You have to try it for yourself.
Yeah. I feel like I just came from an area that's as big as any open area in any Borderlands game.
Okay.
So if people are worried about it being like an open space, like, you go into caves that are like networks of huge, gigantic, sprawling,
tons
open,
to explore.
Yeah. So like that does end up happening at some point, but
Well, that's good to hear, because I played I think 2 hours, and I'm actually on the overworld. I'm right by. Thanks, glad that fell. I'm right by the Cheeto.
Gravity.
The Cheeto, yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
there's going to be a cave beyond there, Derek, beyond like a rainbow bridge. And
that was what I was thinking. I was like, this feels more like old school like Dragon Age games than
literally about to say. Yeah.
But yeah, the first few hours of that game, I would say the first 4 to 5 hours of that game, it's very
pretty linear.
Like linear, corridor-esque.
With some side stuff you can do, right? Like a couple little extra areas you can do. Yeah. The little random encounters is just that. Like it'll put you in a little enclosed area, like a village or a field or something.
Kill box,
Yeah, a little kill box, and then basically you have this meter you have to fill up. Like, basically, kill this many enemies. It doesn't tell you how many, but each one you kill, it fills up the meter a little more, and then it'll just say clear encounter, and they'll just keep spawning enemies till that gets cleared, and then boom, you get some rewards, and then you're done. So it's I don't know. I kind of like that mechanic as well, because she even says, of course, random encounter. Like it's a thing as you go through the grass. So anyway.
There's a few things I wanted to touch on. Like when you mentioned this being maybe I don't know, 2 Borderlands or different from Borderlands at the beginning when we were talking about this game. I always thought that in the advertising when I watched the combat, I was like, oh, this is just Borderlands, but in a fantasy setting. So I always thought it was going to be Borderlands. So if anybody's misled by that, just pay attention to the advertising.
I agree.
Second thing I wanted to mention,
I don't even think it's trying to pitch itself as anything else.
No. Second thing I wanted to mention was I think it was ACG's review. He came down on this game a little hard for not doing enough of the D&D stuff. And my feeling on it, having played it now, is I felt it was the perfect balance of D&D and Borderlands, because it doesn't lose sight of either one, really. If you added more D&D elements to this, it loses the Borderlands element. So
it becomes too complex.
Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes he just bitches to bitch. I don't really know what's
kind of a heel now. I don't know what his problem is.
He turned heel.
So he's the internet.
Like Stone Cold joining Vince McMahon now.
He went corporate. Yeah.
I feel like you should put that on a mug, Jeff. I like that. Just bitching to bitch.
Just bitching to bitch.
That's a good.
That's basically the internet, guys.
Yeah, I feel like and maybe Derek was building up to a similar point, even though we kind of came from 2 different ways on this. That like the vibe of Borderlands was kind of getting maybe a little stale a little bit. I feel like the reinjection of energy that this game puts into it really has freshened up the series for me in a way that I think personally that I needed. I was telling Tim earlier, I was like, boy, if I knew that they just needed to drop drum and bass music and like tell less fart jokes but more fantasy fart jokes, like I would have been like, I would have asked for this way sooner, So.
Oh, and also, I lost my point. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think the fantasy thing like kind of lends to like this breath of fresh air, whether they can they can take the elements of D&D and like sort of the fantasy and role playing stuff of all that, and
still Borderlands too. Like Claptrap shows up, like it's like the greatest hits of all these things that are part of Borderlands, but like in this new kind of dungeon. And I know they did a DLC back, and I like that DLC like from back on Borderlands 2.
I feel
like they doubled down on all the mechanics and the presentation of it that makes it really feel like a fantasy experience.
I do feel like the same way. Maybe I like Borderlands the series, the original series, a little more than Kyle does. Maybe not the pre-sequel though. That one's kind of we're not going to talk about that one. We don't talk about pre-sequel. So I wanted to.
We're going to get a cease and desist from Disney.
That is just I enjoyed my time with the Borderlands games, but I never ended up playing any of them more than a few hours.
Sure.
Something about them just didn't resonate to me. But this is the most fun I've had playing a Borderlands game, or at least something in the Borderlands franchise since Tales from the Borderlands, and that's not even a shooter. That's a Telltale game.
Yeah, and it wasn't even Gearbox that made that.
Yeah, right. And they got the writing just on this reminds me of that. Like it's just so much funny, so much funnier, and I don't know, quippier in a tolerable way.
Yep, and just the way they name stuff, even like the Zomboss, like just little things are just charming and silly and fun, and it doesn't to me feel like easy knockoff fart jokes. It feels like clever writing that went through some edits, that they nailed some really clever moments, and they knew that
joke writing going on here.
Real joke writing, and they knew like, hey, at this moment, if this character says this thing, the player's gonna chuckle, and it's worked on me several times.
I wonder if because like was it Wanda Sykes is in it? Because she's an actual comedian. I mean, Will Arnett. Like, I wonder if like Andy Samberg. They actually had their hands a little bit on some of the jokes.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, there's a part where you're trying to get a bridge to come down, and so Andy Samberg suggests that you seduce the bridge, and so there's a heart right there that you just essentially go and you interact with, and then your player just starts saying these predetermined lines, and then Tiny Tina just comes in and it's just kind of like, I'm not even gonna grade it. I'm just
seduced.
Well, he's feeling your vibes.
Roll the dice. I'm feeling your decency. Yeah. It's just funny. Yeah. So like in game, if you impress Tiny Tina, she'll like change the whole rules of everything. Like,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does feel like I feel like the stars of the voice acting cast would not have signed on if it wasn't already funny as it is, or if they didn't get to kind of have fun in the booth, like
right.
They kind of just didn't get to explore.
Well, even the side characters are well voice acted and written. So that's helpful too. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. That's one I see myself playing a lot more of. Ghostwire, I'm up in the air on. It's not a hard no, like everyone has said. It's got good elements, so I might play some more of it. And then Kirby is a definite yes once we get it. I'm not sure when we'll get it. At some point, that might be like a summer game with the family or something like that.
Yeah, I get that.
But overall, like the last thing I needed was 3 more games that are interesting,
Yeah.
and two of the 3 are really right up my alley. And so anyway, that's the last thing I needed because I still haven't finished Horizon or Elden Ring. Dang it, I need to finish those. But at least 2 of you finished Horizon, Derek and Jeff. I know we spent a lot of time on both Elden Ring and Horizon over the last couple of weeks. Maybe just quick thoughts, if there's any new thoughts on how that game wrapped up without spoiling anything.
I really, really like the final mission. They give you a prompt obviously before you assemble like your team. Are you sure you want to do this? Because the landscape of your world's gonna change after this mission. And so
so many emotions.
I know.
So I was like, all right, how long could this be or whatever? And it ends up being pretty long. You end up going to like several areas of enemies before you get to like the main few bosses, and that felt really cool. The story is interesting. They definitely were everything you encounter pretty much in the story is all leading up to and previewing what sounds like a finale in the trilogy. So it leaves you on a cliffhanger of like, look out for whatever's coming, and that's actually pretty exciting. But at the same time, I kind of wish it had a beginning, middle, and definitive end. So that's sometimes middle games or stories do that. Like Empire Strikes Back ended.
There's still a definitive end to the enemy in the story that was being told into. They're just trying to continue the overarching story, which they should end in theory by 3.
That's what it sounds like. If they go more than 3, I'll kind of be like, all right, guys, you get kind of pushing a little bit.
Well, and I think we're gonna get DLC for this game too, kind of like Frozen Wild. So I'm curious what they'll do there. I don't think they'll continue the story. I think they'll just kind of add maybe on to exploring more of the tribes or whatever before 2 ended. As somebody who, I skipped a lot of cutscenes, but I really did watch a video, and the video I shared was actually good. And I didn't just share it for like people that skip the cutscenes. It was a good video because when you play these Horizon games, there is a lot of depth to the story that, yes, they do go over it, but they go over it in a way that it's like, huh? And there's a lot of talking.
And there's a lot of reading that the game asks of you as well. So
there's
if you're not keeping up with all the data pads,
there's a ton of stuff you'll miss. So the guy who did the video actually, he spent 30 minutes going over the first and second game in complete detail of who everybody is, what their motivations are, how it all played out, and all the tribes, everything. And he did an outstanding job. So when I watched it, I was like, okay, this is what I wanted, because I always do a second playthrough. So when I play it the second time, I'm going to be able to pick up on some of the stuff that I just didn't understand just because it was all gibberish to me. Now I'm going to be able to hear it, and I'll be able to hear it correctly. Overall, my thoughts for this game as somebody who is super excited for this game, because as I said before, Horizon Zero Dawn's probably my favorite PS4 exclusive, and so it was potentially going to be my favorite PlayStation franchise. This was a bit of a letdown, but I'm not going to be dramatic about it because I'm going to play it a second time, and I do think that the opinion will change. I think a big part of this is Elden Ring hurt it. Not because I'm comparing it against Elden Ring and saying Elden Ring.
But you played them at the same time.
But I played them at the same time, and I had zero tolerance for any type of like pushback that Horizon was giving me. I was like, nope, I already have one difficult girlfriend in my life. I don't need a second one. So I'm not dealing with this. That's why
people are gonna fall off Tunic real fast too. It's because they've got 2 other girlfriends.
That was my issue with Tunic. So I played it at normal until I got to like the last 5 hours of the game, and I was like, I'm gonna Jeff this junk, and I'm putting it on easy mode.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
I'm just gonna finish it
I'm
off.
a verb now, buddy.
So I like the game. I'm going to replay it. Everybody who watches our show knows I will play this another 2 or 3 times, and I will, I think enjoy it more as I level up. I am disappointed there is no New Game Plus, but I do understand.
I was gonna ask.
They'll probably put it later. I think New Game Plus came in later for the first one.
They added it later for Zero Dawn, so they're gonna add it. And so I will play it again when either they add New Game Plus or if they actually port this over to PC faster than they did Zero Dawn. But I think overall, this is a Game of the Year contender because not only is it a great open world, great combat, great characters. I have to give credit where credit's due. Although I make fun of Aloy, and I still can't stand her, everybody else in the game is awesome. And it's
Katalo.
When you go from what they created in Zero Dawn to what they created in this, and it's bigger and there's more, I'm going, okay, give credit where credit's due. And this game took a huge leap when it came to not just voice acting, but dialogue, character,
animation,
the world, the animations, everything was top notch. So this is Game of the Year contender for me. Even though I'm saying overall I'm a little disappointed, but that I truly don't believe that's the game's fault. I really think it's Elden Ring's fault. I think it makes
sense that it would translate to you like this more.
Yeah, I planned to play Forbidden West before I touched Elden Ring because I thought Elden Ring would be the annoying game, but it ended up being the reverse. That I found Elden Ring to be addictive, and I found Forbidden West to be annoying, even though it's not really annoying. So
that's fair.
I think the way that the story unfolds and sort of the rhythm of it, obviously aside from doing side quests and just really just sort of making your hours go much longer than it needs to be, just the way that the story is told and all the interesting points that you hit and twists and everything are just there's way more of them and they're way more interesting.
Well, and they hit it pretty early, right? There's a pretty big mind blowing oh, this is a totally new experience we're about to have. That first cauldron.
The first call. Yes, the first call.
The first call when you're introduced to a totally new type of character that's in this world you didn't know even exists. You're like, okay, this is gonna go some new places.
Yeah, there's nothing in all the marketing is just talking about Tanakh, pretty much. Yep. That's about it. There's way more in this story. That people don't
I love
realize.
it
because in the first game, there's the one main twist, why the world is what it is. There's that twist, and then in this one, it's you have really a few things all kind of.
This game is 100.
It's all related to that though. It's all under the umbrella.
This game is 100% Mass Effect 2. It is all a setup for the grand finale of 3. And it's all about building your team of characters and establishing those relationships with those characters, and
deciding who to sleep with, right?
Yes,
absolutely. And who to suicide, because Mass Effect 2 suicide.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I think this game is a good setup game, and I do expect that 3 will be a masterpiece as far as finishing off, because the lore in this. I don't give a crap what people say online. It's been done before. Everything's been done before. Shut up.
This is literally everything.
Packaged up so well in this game.
This is still done really well. There's a lot of lore. I do have one major complaint that's not going to go away with a second or third playthrough. The parkour, jumping, whatever crap you want to talk about.
It's been a long complaint of ours,
is absolutely annoying to the point where, again, I was talking to the game. I was like, I hate you. You are absolutely stupid. Why are you not jumping right now? Why did you just get moody and
I was literally going, I would rather be playing Assassin's Creed right now. And that's something I complain about in those games too.
It made me immediately, I started to feel bad, maybe Assassin's Creed, maybe Ubisoft. I understand why they had so much trouble for so many years. If you look at Valhalla and Odyssey, the way climbing worked in those games, it's really great actually. And then you come to a game like this,
they're very much improved in those games.
Why can't I climb like I want to?
And, how long it took them to
it's just the random. There's multiple areas. I'm not just talking about how you can only climb in designated areas. There has been many times where she'll just stop climbing. And I'm like, why did you stop climbing?
Yeah,
now you need me to hit X? Okay, I'll hit X. And then there's other times, there's one where you have to climb this really high building. I think it was a side quest. a really, really high building.
You're with Alva.
Holy.
Dude, I mentioned that. I think it was last week, right?
Yeah, last
I
week.
kept falling, and I was like, "What is going on?" Yes.
Because there were so many parts where they're like, "Okay, you got to jump to this side." And I'm like, "Okay, I see it. Circle." And she just jumps over there, and I fall down.
You know how many times I've gotten to a ledge that she perches on, but there's a platform in front of me, and there's no space between the ledge and the platform. But for some reason, she's still perched there, and I guess I have to hop off of that, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
And then she jumps over it.
It's very strange. There's some very strange interaction with the environment when it comes to parkour, climbing, whatever.
So nimble when she's running around hunting robos.
I mean, honestly, that like if we were to grade all these different areas of the game, so many of it would rank in the really high, 8 to 10.
This is the one where it's absolutely not good at all.
It's bad. It's real bad. That part's
just
bad.
Do Breath of the Wild. All climbing should just be like Breath of the Wild in all games.
And don't overcomplicate.
I don't care about stamina though. Get the stamina.
Right, get the stamina out of here. But
I also don't need to climb. Just let her use that awesome new grapple hook to get up to any level you need to get
up. That grapple hook was so weak in this game because it was just like ba-doo, and you move up like a half an inch. I'm like, thanks. That was really stupid.
Yeah. Just
they would place it like in the middle of where you need to climb to be able to get to it, and you're like. Why even put it there? It doesn't make any sense.
You know what? In the third one, just give her a jetpack. Give her a freaking jetpack and just fly.
Well, you do get the ability. I'm sure you guys might have. All of you have probably gone furthest enough to see the tall neck that you can't climb. And you do eventually. It's like the second to last mission. You eventually find a way to get to it. And I love that you get that ability. That's awesome. It just should have happened earlier in the game. That's my fair. Only gripe.
I hear that complaint a lot too.
Yeah.
But at least we know the third game. God, I hope they pick up where that left off. If I gotta relearn that ability, I'm gonna be so pissed.
And I heard to start the third game. Well, I had some trouble, and so I lost everything I've gained.
Yeah. I lost my focus.
I lost all my files. I don't know how to.
My files are.
I don't know how to hack anything. I lost my files.
They could end up, and this would be a bold move because she is the centerpiece of these games. I get it, but they could end up making her actually a side character that interacts with you or helps you, and you are now a new character. They could do that.
No way they do that because games media would destroy them because that's their female.
But no, Derek. Hero. What if they make it a white man? Then it'd be okay.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, if you make it a white man, it'll be fine.
Stop the show.
I'm just saying. To me, what's the one way that you could story-wise make it okay to lose all your powers? That's all I'm saying.
You don't, and you just don't address it like they did in this game.
They do it with Metroid. They do it with Metroid.
Yeah, but like in this game, like you basically start over at 0 and there's no explanation for it.
Well, Metroid Dread, the opening.
I think you just have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're gonna tell a story about the same character, and you're gonna tell it in 3-4 games, whatever you're gonna do, stop with the hey, we built you up, now you got to start over. We build you up, start over. What you need to do is keep all the powers, keep all the equipment. And then you've got to find a way to add something new to the world. That's all you have to do. Yeah,
just keep layering.
And I know it sounds complicated, but it really isn't. You can also make enemies more powerful, and you can explain that easier than taking stuff away from me. You just make the enemies more powerful or more versatile.
Some stuff this time, but not much, right?
Not much. Yeah, some things could go over, but
there's that lame-o part in the. Well, I lost everything.
Yeah.
You're the savior of the universe.
I'm just surprised that you heard that because that was a dialogue moment. I'm surprised you heard it.
That's a lot of responsibility.
That was in the very beginning of the game. So I give the game at least 5 minutes to intrigue me. And then I turn off.
I do like that people were complaining. I mean, she still is kind of like a wet rag of a personality, but
she gets much better.
She's very much, I'm going to do this by myself in the first game. I guess I don't know. I didn't beat it, but she's alone in the first game, and in this game, she is, this is her building her army and letting her.
She is, but she isn't. At the end of the first game, you've got, as you can see, there's a lot of people who are hurt by you disappearing at the beginning of the second game. You actually do have quite the crew of people that are helping you and care about you by the end of the first one. But she just, she's a sociopath.
There's no hub world.
Guys, come on.
There's no hub world, but there are main side characters that you help throughout the first game that at the end of the first game, they're there battling with you.
Oh, okay.
And that's why their feelings are hurt.
Yeah, it's true.
You're at a big party on your behalf, and she's like, "Okay, bye." She Irish goodbyes everybody.
Yeah.
She does. She absolutely does.
Like, I gotta go listen to a bunch of rumors, so I'm too busy.
I gotta go lose all my stuff I just earned.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how we roll.
But still, a great game. I do have my issues. I think it's fair on the issues that I have with it, but I cannot wait. I'm actually itching for a second playthrough. The only thing I want to add is just for games that I beat that this past week, but I also beat Forza Horizon 5. Well, beat whatever, finish everything that you're supposed to do. So, outstanding game, absolutely outstanding. It's actually nice to go back to that when I've been playing GT7 a lot. Totally different games. I love how gamers like compare those two. They're so similar, idiots. But
there's cars, it's the same.
They're cars. You're in a basically car. A reskin.
It's a reskin.
It's a reskin.
So
it's all reskin. All games are reskins.
Yeah, that's all it is. But it's an outstanding game. I love the way it looks. Even on I didn't play it on PC to finish it. I played it on Xbox Series X to finish it, and it's an outstanding game. And definitely deserved all the praise. And I've also been playing a lot of Gran Turismo 7. I am really into this game, even if you'll see me on social media bash it for things that other people won't bash it for, who are ponies. But it is a good game. It is a fun game. If you like racing games that are very authentic and real, a very sim experience, this one nails it. And I want to give a shout out to the game. They did totally screw a lot of people over. I didn't like how they were giving you half the rewards when they already weren't giving you a lot for the rewards. They say it was to be realistic. Bullcrap, because the prices of stuff was not realistic. But they came out and announced that they were going to give us all $1 million. Not in real currency.
Real money?
Man, I was going to say.
Right now.
So I went ahead and logged in today. No, not today. I was gone all day today. Yesterday. And started playing it, and sure enough, I picked up my $1 million. So
where'd you pick it up at? Because I haven't.
You just go into, I forgot the area. You'll have an exclamation point, and then you just go in there, and it's under your rewards. So whenever you earn a reward where it goes do 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 do, and you either win money or a car or whatever, it's the same. They alert you that it's there, and you just click on it, and they give you the $1 million. And that's awesome because a big part of this game that I do actually like, because they keep it real easy, is that as you go into new races, it'll say PP, which is such an awesome name. Your PP is like your power of your car, and it'll say for this race, it has to be under 400 PP. And most of your cars,
stop saying it. You gotta stop saying
that's what she said.
Most of your cars at that time will be a 320 or a 280 or whatever. So you'll pick the car you want to use, and then you got to make some adjustments. You got to maintenance the car, and then you've got to raise your PP.
Wow. Here we go.
So I enjoy that, but that costs a pretty penny. So the fact that they gave you,
well, that's what PP stands for.
It costs a lot of money to increase your PP. So
these games are supposed to be like long-term simulators. So like the idea is that like where a game like Horizon, Forza Horizon is shotgunning cars at you every time you finish a race. You have 20 new cars. This game's about like, okay, I have to finish a whole section of races. I'll get a car that might help me in my next series of races.
I like that there's pacing like that in games.
But also if I want to save up some money and buy like my dream car, like my Skyline, like I can buy that. It'll be expensive. If I want to upgrade it, it'll be expensive. But that's what you're supposed to do with your money in this game. Like there's not houses to buy.
The problem with games in general now, and I'm bouncing off of what Kyle was saying. I actually heard it with Days Gone. So I just watched like 10 minutes of it, and it was the Days Gone director, creator, whatever. And he was talking, and he's like, and Colin is a huge fan of Days Gone. So he had him on to basically talk about how it's such a great game, and games media gave it low scores, and that's unfair. And one of the things he mentioned, he's like, we didn't do a good job of bringing people in right away. And he's like, that's our fault. And I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to say, but I actually disagree, because this is, again, the business is trying to make it all about, well, we've got to adjust to the customer. Sometimes the customer is wrong, and that's the issue with.
Yeah, I feel like the customer has to meet the developer,
Sometimes, yes, I think it's got to be a middle ground. But the point I'm trying to make is when you're dealing with a game like a Gran Turismo 7 or something like that, where you get gamers who are like, well, I should be able to buy a McLaren within like 3 days of playing the game. And
people just expect unlocks at the end of everything you do.
That's what I'm saying.
Expect, so a spin of
Forza. That's what Forza does to you.
Seriously, and that's fine, but that's not what this game is. So
that's my point. Yeah. I feel like gamers are, because we're getting so many more games, and the gaming world is so big now. There's so many casuals, and I don't mean that in like a mean way, but there's a ton of people that don't really know, and they just whine. They're like, that doesn't do what I want it to do, and they'll compare a GT7 to a Forza Horizon 5, and it's like they're not even they're racers, but they're not close to being the same. Yeah. That's the issue, is you've got a lot of uneducated people that will whine, and now you have developers that are going, well, we did a bad job of not just throwing everything at you to make you like us right
It's
away.
like the difficulty level thing. I mean, it's anything, right? Every game should have accessibility. It's like, but again, the developer wants it to be like this.
We just need developers to, honestly, this is another reason why I love Elden Ring and Dark Souls. We need more developers like, no.
Just now. Yeah.
No.
And the Gran Turismo guy did say that. They're like, you guys, you're not supposed to get a McLaren on day one. Like, you're supposed to save for it. Like, when you're a real racer, like, you don't have the greatest car ever in the first year of your career, And like he kind of stood his ground. Yes, we got $1 million now, because it sounds like in response, a lot of people started breaking the game to like economically. So I think they sent this money out as kind of like
I think
a
it was
offering.
that, but I also think it was the online being down for a couple days.
I forgot that it was.
Yeah. I think that was big.
I think that is. I think
it was the pigeonholing people into sort of like having to do microtransactions, right?
And I feel like Lawrence Sontag from Inside Games brought up something too, where it's like where people are mad that they have to grind a singular race over and over again to get the money they want, to get the thing that they want. Like, I remember playing, and this is what Lawrence said, in Gran Turismo 3 and 4, like, I would try a license test for 2 or 3 hours at a time, failing it over and over and over again until you finally speed up the right amount and brake the right amount to get that right turn or that right thing or whatever the license test is making you do.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know how that's any different than grinding for money. Like, you're still pumping like time.
People don't want to do that. They don't want to grind to do that.
It's a case of like people needing that like instant gratification or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have the attention span anymore to like game like that.
That was the point I was trying to get at. Where if you have developers, and if they all start doing this, where they're like, in order for us to make money, we just have to make them happy. Meaning, let's create a formula, and we have to do it this way. Yeah. It's dangerous. It can make games bad. It can make them predictable. It can make it retarded, and you can make gamers even more entitled, which, by the way, if you don't know what entitled people look like, it's gamers, and they will continue to find things to whine about until you eventually just give them all the games for free, all the DLC for free, and all of it up front. That would be the only thing that they would go, okay, but what about the console? Can I get the console for free? That would be the only place they would go. That's how they are. That it will just continue to grow. At some point, you have to cut them off and be like, no, I created the game. I created. You don't like it. I'm okay taking a loss. I'm okay. And I think that's part of, yes, it's a great game and stuff, but that's part of the reason why a lot of people like the Souls games and stuff like that, is they're like, no, we're not changing for you. Keep repeating it over and over. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. So
Derek is anti-gamer confirmed.
Gamers are the kid in your basement.
I always want to blame the consumer every time. So
I worked retail for 9 years. The consumer can go fuck themselves.
The consumer's wrong every time.
But I will say this, and I said it as a joke, but I also was serious. Gran Turismo 7 for racing games is a Souls type experience, meaning what Kyle was saying about like, I have to do this over and over and over to what? Perfect it. What do you think you have to do in a boss fight? You have to do it over and over and over to get to a point where you can start to see the patterns. It's the same thing with this racing, and that's why I struggle with it. I didn't give up with it. Sometimes I pitch fit and be like, I'm not. But I didn't give up, and I was like, okay, let me figure out what you're trying to do. And I did, and now I'm slowly going through the game the way they want me to, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting better.
Well, and
I'm finishing in top 3 every time.
Sure, yeah, and then and like on some of the more famous tracks like Le Mans and stuff like that, as you start learning the tracks a little more, and you remember corners or turns that gave you problems before, you
muscle
feel
memory starts to kick in.
You feel that progression of like, God, that turn used to kill me every time, and now I ace it, and it gives you that same feeling that Elden Ring. I have to double down on what you're saying.
Some people have flappy.
It gives you that same. Right, I mean, but it gives you that same kind of adrenaline rushes, like, or that sense of progression, or that sense of like, wow, I'm really going somewhere in this game.
I did it with Forza. I think it was Motorsport 5 that came out at the launch of the Xbox One. And I was in the motorsports games, but I'm more of a Horizon guy. I'm more of an arcade racer always. But I remember, I think it was Motorsport 5 that launched with the Xbox One, and I played that one, no lie, probably 60 hours. And that is when Sims Racers really clicked with me, and I was like, I get it. I get what's great about this game. It's not the fun, arcadey, crazy racing that I like, but it's the learning the tracks, learning how each car handles, because each car handles differently. But I got into a place where on 5 I had all the tracks memorized. I didn't even have to look at the map. It was based off of the scenery, and I'd be like, tight left turn coming up. I need to slam on my brakes now. But that's what happened, because I put in so many hours in that game, and they keep having you use the same tracks, not just because they're like lazy and only made 5 tracks. I don't know if that's the number. I'm just being sarcastic, but like, I think the point is they wanted you to repeat it because they're like, it's really hard.
Well, it's also these are sim games, so these are real tracks from real life, you know. Yeah. So it's like these are real races, you know. So
I mean, listen, guys, I can relate. I played a lot of Lawn Mowing Simulator, so I know what you're talking about.
It's got dinosaur DLC.
You had to memorize the lawn.
You have to memorize, dude. If you take a turn,
hit those rose bushes.
If you take a turn too fast, you will wreck their yard, and they'll fine you. They'll do it. They'll fine you for that. So it'll happen. You know, the simulation game they need to make is driving your family more than 2 hours for any type of vacation, and you have to balance how many gas station stops to make, because you have to arrive by a certain time, and you have to decide when to hit play on the DVD player. It's a lot of things to decide. What movie to pick? Yep. When to get everyone's attention to point out the window so you don't make someone cry because they missed the horse or whatever. Yeah, it's a whole thing. You guys would love it.
I miss kids. Yeah, I miss them so much.
I miss them so much.
It's a whole thing. All right, well, let's talk about some headlines and some things that have happened in the industry this week. I grabbed some of these yesterday and today, so hopefully you didn't miss anything major. Sony's acquiring Haven Studios. If you're not familiar with what Haven is, it's a new studio that was put together by Jade Raymond of Assassin's Creed fame and other games, of course. She didn't just make that, but that's the one that comes to mind first when I think of Jade Raymond, was she helped together.
She's real popular, but she doesn't do anything anymore.
Well, she's just been bouncing around between.
So I was actually going to say
that lady from Uncharted.
This is going to sound kind of mean.
Amy Hennig.
But her name, she's a big name, and for good reason. She has helped create some really cool things. But it's been about 10 years since she's made something new that I can find. I did some searching today. I couldn't. So I'm like, what has she been doing other than being a big name who starts a studio or joins a studio? Maybe I'm just unaware. And that's fine, but it just seems weird.
Stadia, right? Didn't she had something with Stadia?
She had a role there, but it was to create games for it, and she didn't create anything for it.
Right. Well, because Stadia,
I know, but it's just like, did she start and just ditch a bunch of projects over the last decade? Maybe.
I think that's what seemed to be the case. Yeah, she just kind of joined a studio. This might have been the first one she actually started. I think she just kept going to studios, and then it just wasn't working out.
It's got a cool name. Okay, Jade Raymond is a very cool.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, that's a very cool. She sounds like a video game character.
Change your name, Jeff.
Well, it's because she's Jade from Mortal Kombat. She's actually pretty hot too.
So Derek gives her a pass.
Just like Jade from Mortal Kombat.
She can literally do whatever she wants. She's hot, and her name's Jade.
Sure, absolutely.
Congrats to her on that.
Equality right there, buddy. Equality.
there's been rumors flying around that have been reported really by pretty much every outlet. If you go to their websites, you'll see this rumor, and that's that PlayStation is supposedly going to be revealing Spartacus this upcoming week. I don't know if that's true. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, they already have. Maybe it won't happen at all, but who knows? But their Game Pass competitor platform that's supposedly, the rumors say, going to combine PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and they're going to phase out PlayStation Plus, and this is going to have a new name, and it's going to have tiered subscription models with some classic games and maybe some new games day one. There's all kinds of rumors out there about all these different things. We don't know what it's going to be. I assume it's going to be something. I think it's impossible for them to ignore the success of Game Pass and the money that can be made from even just digging into their old library. I think there's plenty they can do. But that's supposedly going to be revealed this week. That remains to be seen. But that'd be cool. I'd love to see it.
Give me that info.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Not that I need more games to play, but that'd be cool to have.
Oh yeah, I definitely wouldn't even buy it right away.
Whatever Spartacus is. By the way, I got this notification right as we were starting to record. So I was looking through during that Gran Turismo talk. I could not focus. I was looking at the games that were on sale for Square on Steam. I mean, that sale is fantastic. So if you're a fan of, if you have Steam, if you got a PC that can play it, if you're going to get a Steam Deck, whatever, there's a whole bunch of great Square games on sale right now on Steam. So go check it out. All right, Nintendo had a system update this week that finally, guys, 5 years in, they finally delivered, and you can group your games into folders now. So
wow!
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
game changer.
It is.
I
gotta be honest with you.
I gotta
be honest with you. As someone who really loves a good spreadsheet and good organization, I'm cool. I like this. This is very exciting to me.
Dude, they did this for the Wii U like 18 years ago. This should have been done on day one.
It's been on the DS and 33DS. Like they've had this
capability. I mean, PS5 doesn't even have it yet. That should be one of the main things out the gate. Yeah, one of the main things.
Well, and technically
they say main things, but it shouldn't be that complicated.
PS5 can't do it yet. So and I think the Xbox, even though it has like groupings, it doesn't really have folders. It's like more like groupings that you can.
No, you pin your favorites or whatever. You have like a favorites group.
For the love of God, just folders. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Folders are dumb in consoles. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. I don't care for
that's
it.
Fair.
You're dumb in consoles.
Out of PC, it's dumb.
My OCD self loves them. I love them. I like to put everything in little different folders and label the folders.
I even put things like stuff I'm playing now. Stuff.
Same. Current. Need to get to.
Backlog.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Nerds. Oh, you're making my OCD self. Ugh. I'm gonna get off and I'm gonna have such a night tonight now. Awesome.
Kyle's gonna say
Kirby this
hours and hours and hours of OCD. Foldering.
I'm gonna play Tiny Tina.
That's fair. And then do your folders later. I get it.
I'm gonna watch Oscar-nominated Best Pictures because I like movies unlike some of you.
You like.
You're so cultured.
You're so cultured.
I'm the most cultured person.
I'm surprised you didn't have I'm surprised you didn't have a sip of wine while saying that.
I know. I mean, could you?
Douchebag. There you go. Yeah.
I can't do it.
My daughter, my little 2-year-old came walking in the other day, and my wife, it was after a bath. My wife had put on this like pink Mickey Mouse robe. It was super fluffy with these little slippers on. She came walking in, and she just kind of looked at me almost as if she was annoyed that I was there. It was like this hilarious little 2-year-old moment, and I was like, all she needs is like her little goblet of wine where she could roll her eyes and take a sip as she keeps walking. You know what I mean? Like it was just, It's perfect. It was perfect.
You peasanty ass peasant.
What are you doing? You're so unclean. The Xbox has unveiled a new publishing division focused on cloud native games. They don't really have a fancy name for it. It's literally just called the Cloud Native Game Organization
for Xbox.
So
racist against Native Americans.
That's interesting that they're going to be focusing on that. I mean, listen,
Xbox Commanders.
my experience with cloud-based
Xbox
gaming
Chiefs.
experiences has been bad. So whatever. If they can make it better.
I think Xbox is supposed to be good if you're playing like on your iPhone or something like that. But like
I've tried a little bit. It wasn't great.
To get the the rewards points, I'll do cloud gaming on my Xbox Series X. It's absolutely terrible. It looks terrible. It's got so much delay or whatever. It's not good at all.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, the same here. I've tried it on my PC, on my Xbox, and on my phone, and all of them had various issues with the visuals not being up to snuff and the controls, the latency.
Real bad. It's like
load times are real bad. So But in more exciting news with Xbox, there's a new arcade-style multiplayer game that combines racing and golf that looks suspiciously similar to Rocket League. If you go and watch the trailer for it, it looks...
What's it called?
It's called Turbo Golf Racing.
Oh, jeez.
And go watch the trailer for it. It looks so much like Rocket League. The cars, the way that you drive, the way you jump and hit the ball through what look like these giant... They're supposed to be like golf holes, right? Like the golf course, but the holes like up in the air for you to hit the ball into. Looks a lot like a Rocket League mode. It looks like a mode they would release for Rocket League DLC, honestly.
Huh.
That doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It could be a blast, whatever. But it is coming to Game Pass at launch.
Gosh. Like even just the thumbnail, like it's like, oh, Rocket League? Like, is this like a mode for Rocket League? Like,
as far as I know, it's an Xbox console exclusive coming to PC as well. And it will be on Game Pass.
These guys are going to get sued out their ass.
Yeah, it looks a lot like
It's the same thing like where that not Fortnite game is coming out, like Melee only Fortnite or whatever. And I was just like, someone's going to get sued about this. This is crazy.
So it could be fun. We'll see. But I also thought the developer name was really funny. Derek will appreciate this. The studio is called Huge Calf Studios.
Hold on.
I definitely started that.
Can you guys see this? Like,
yeah.
Like, come on, right? Like, this is like a trailer for a new mode of Rocket League. Like,
I can't wait for this Rocket League DLC.
Like the colors, even there, the orange and the blues. Like,
I know.
Come on. Like, this is
it's the same.
I gotta say I have a problem with this because as somebody who absolutely loves Rocket League, I've played their other modes and I've been fine with them. They're fun, but they're not Rocket League. Rocket League, like the original soccer is all I care about. Agreed. This just feels like it would be the next thing Rocket League would do, and I would play it for like a minute and be like, okay, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
This looks exactly like something that would be in Rocket League. Like, at least change it up a little bit. Like for like, what was the PS5 game that came out kind of at launch a little bit later and ended up being
Destruction All-Stars?
Yeah, that clearly had some similarities to other games, but they still made it their own thing.
They did. For better
this is not making this.
Yeah, that's straight up Rocket League. Like,
that is a ripoff directly. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Listen, it's on Game Pass. I am gonna try it, but I totally expect what Derek just said to be essentially a Rocket League mode that I try for an afternoon and then never play again. I did that with a lot of the Rocket League modes that came out. Some of them I liked more than others. Like I thought hockey was actually quite fun. I played that one a lot more.
Fun.
Oh, with the puck, yeah.
Basketball was okay, and even the drop shot one was kind of cool. You got to break the floor. Some of those are pretty fun to play several rounds of, but I don't know. In general,
they're all fun, but Rocket League, like the soccer,
it all comes back to Rocket League.
Yeah.
Even like the goofy versions or the Rumble version with all the special abilities, like they can all be fun. But in the end, I'm with you. I just want to go back to 2v2, 3v3, regular old Rocket League.
Which I missed that. I haven't played that in like 6 months.
But guys, go out and support Huge Calf Studios.
Support my Huge Calf.
No.
So Rockstar is going to introduce a new subscription offering for Grand Theft Auto Online.
Well, they need the money, so.
It launches this week. It's called GTA Plus. Apparently, it's been in the works for a while. I think it might only be to PS5 and Xbox Series X. Versions of the game.
Not for PC?
I don't think so. So basically, the idea is that you get a number of exclusive benefits. You pay $6 a month. It's going to give you anything from cash to items and all kinds. Like the idea is if you play this a lot, we're going to give you some stuff for this membership cost.
I have zero issue with this.
I don't
Not only because I don't care about it, but also because I think
I celebrate it.
If you play the game, pay for it.
So that's kind of where I am too. If you are getting out of it more than, let's just say that you played it all the time and you spend money on this regularly. If now you can pay a subscription and get essentially what you would have bought, and now you're going to save a few bucks because you don't have to spend as much. You just are subscribed. Like that to me is like, okay, cool. They gave people who are already spending money on Grand Theft Auto Online a way to just subscribe and get that stuff.
Those
like,
shark cards are some of the most purchased cards on Xbox, Steam, and PlayStation Network. So you're giving these people an easier way to play the game, and you can just keep on playing it the way you're playing it for free, and nothing changes at all.
I was going to say that. That's exactly it. It doesn't affect folks who don't want to subscribe to this.
Like, what's the difference between that and what Fortnite does? Can't you like pay that little extra where you get the extra outfits and stuff?
That is the norm.
Rocket League's the same way now, where you can buy the season pass stuff.
Halo Infinite is the same.
And the reason I think PS5 and Xbox Series X are the only ones that have this, I think those are the only platforms that offer GTA Online as a separate game. Am I mistaken in that?
Oh, you might be right. I'm not sure.
Because I do remember if you look up, on the store GTA Online is going to show up, and you can just install that separately from GTA 5, the main game.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
So I think, and this, by the way, GTA Online is free until June. So I think there's definitely a reason for all of this, and I respect their decision. I'm not against
money
it at all.
Money is going to go directly into Grand Theft Auto 6, which, guys, is probably going to be the greatest game ever made. I just beat Grand Theft Auto 5 recently, just a couple nights ago. That game holds up 10 years later. You guys, they're literally going to make one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Agree.
We just got Red Dead Redemption 2 like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Give it some time. This game's gonna come out, and it's gonna be hella expensive.
This is being treated like another Netflix price hike, which it is not. That you are not now gonna pay more for what you paid before. You're not
same stuff.
You don't have to now subscribe in order to access it. It's simply just a way for people who play it a lot and already buy a lot of stuff to subscribe and keep that stuff coming in.
Is there any controversy on this? Are there people?
Yeah.
People are so loud. Yeah.
This is what I was talking about earlier.
Entitled
gamers. What I'm talking about, where it's uneducated people running their mouth, and most of them probably don't even play the game.
Well, people oftentimes they get mad at the idea of a company deciding, hey, how can we monetize this and create something that creates convenience for the player? And by the way,
God forbid a game developer want to earn money.
I'm not saying that any company should or shouldn't do something out of the goodness of their hearts, but I think they want to keep their customers and they want them to be happy. And I think they're like, hey, how about our paying customers? We give them a way to just pay us a smaller ongoing fee, and we'll just give them a ton of stuff for subscribing. I think that's what it was. This is going to be convenient and helpful to those who love us and pay us already. And we're going to make consistent money.
Yeah, it's smarter business-wise, because let's say Jeff averages spending $10 a month, Kyle averages $3 a month, so they get 13 between the two of them. But now they can charge a consistent $6 a month to both of them, because both of them are going to subscribe to this. It's a consistent, they've got them locked in. Just like Netflix loves the fact that every time they add content, they make you feel like you can't get out. And it's the same thing with this. Once you start subscribing, you get used to paying that $5, whatever this is, $6 a month. And every time you get that stuff, you get in a cycle of now it's not optional where you're kind of spending $3 here or $5 here or whatever.
Yeah.
You're used to paying $6. They've got you locked in.
You're right.
And they do that by upfront giving you a great deal and going, here, look at all this money we're giving you. You want this. It's only $6.
You might get a free t-shirt and a car,
And it's good for them. Yeah, and it's good for them because they're this is consistent money. Yeah. Before they were sporadic and they would buy every once in a while. Now we know every month we're getting $6 from these people.
I have trouble hearing out folks who are just mad whenever a company finds a new way to monetize or make money, or I feel like some people are just mad at the idea of companies making money. They want, like Derek said earlier, they just want companies to give away what they made for free. Why can't people have it for free? You're so selfish. And I just can't really have that conversation with the person because it doesn't make any sense.
And it's everywhere. It's everywhere that games, a $60 game, and they always bring up 30 years ago I paid $60. No, you didn't. It was $80, and you got a 16-bit piece of shit.
Nintendo games got up to $100 sometimes.
The alternative is to watch ads on every loading screen. What would you rather? You know what I mean? The alternative for companies to make money from subscription services like this is they're going to start injecting ads and product placement. And
then the counter argument
is we got out of that, guys. But if we want to go back to it,
we can go back.
And then the counter argument that I always hear is, these guys are making, go look at their numbers. They're making millions and billions of dollars of revenue, blah, blah. Yes, they are. That they're using to what? Fund future projects and keep their employees employed. Yes, they are making money. Absolutely. I'm not saying there aren't white guys in suits making millions of dollars.
Always white guys.
There are only white guys.
I like when Bill Burr talks about putting on a suit and how he feels that power coming up. He's like, I feel like I need to take over some stuff.
But they're absolutely doing all these things to to make it consistent, because it's the same people that will complain. I can't believe the studio went out. I can't believe I can't believe Activision fired off this entire team and stuff like that. It's like, well, you also whined about them making money. So what do you want to do? You want them to keep everybody employed while not allowed to make extra money?
Well, the ones with the balance view are the ones that complain about the suits just having too much of that money, right? Like, give a bit more to the ones that are actually putting in the work, which are the developers, the time and the stress.
I
and
get
so
that,
on and so forth.
but
yeah, that's a whole different argument. But like,
we can get into the gist of that. Bottom line is, usually people who are on top, it's because they've taken risk and they've made decisions that they could have either been under or on top.
Hey,
These guys so happen to be
they're
on top,
with a target on their back, and they know it,
and they
that's
deserve
fine.
to reap the benefits.
They can have the benefits, and they get the consequences of being at the top, which means people are going to call you out for the back. Like, I get it, I totally get it, but also that company probably wouldn't exist without the executives at the top. So you can get mad at them if you want to, but they're not going to. The developers won't have jobs to make the games you like without the executives at the top.
And as we've seen with Cyberpunk, it's not always like the developers who are at fault for stuff. Sometimes it's the people that they're getting the money from. You know, so it's like we're always casting stones in our glass houses, but like really we don't. A lot of people don't know properly who to point at. So instead, it just feels like they scream about everything and everyone.
Right.
Amen.
Hashtag do better.
I will say these people that want game developers to just release their stuff for free. I'm willing to bet they also want musicians to play for exposure. They seem like those type of people.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's just for
photographers
exposure.
Get that too. Yeah, come to my wedding and shoot my wedding. I'm not going to pay you. It's good to
just experience.
Yeah.
They're mad now with all the streaming services. They're mad that movies are even in theaters anymore. Why can't it just go right to HBO or Disney? Like, some of them do, but not all of them do, and they get mad about that because like we've been talking about. You feel entitled to a certain level of access once you've experienced it. And then if it's not there for everything, you get mad.
Yeah,
it's like, or you could just be happy. For example, Pixar released a brand new movie on Disney Plus. It was not a theater-only movie. They've done that for the last couple of movies. And it's like, okay, they did that. That doesn't mean that every Disney movie is going to do that, though. So chillax.
Right.
Chillax a little bit. It's going to be fine.
Everybody has their own strategy, what will work best for them.
That's right. They want to make money, but they also... It's not like they don't want you to have access to their thing. They want you to see their thing and become a fan. Like, they want you to like it. So I don't know. People are crazy. But Rocksteady's Suicide Squad has been delayed till next spring, which is probably a good thing.
As long as they don't delay the one I care about right away.
Yeah. Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights. Okay.
That's all I care about.
Yeah, that one's still looking good for October.
Suicide Squad looks good, but I'm okay waiting.
As soon as they said Gotham Knights is October, I was like, well, then Suicide Squad's not this year.
They're not gonna release them
those games
back to back.
Exactly.
So them delaying this gives me hope for Gotham Knights this fall to stick the landing.
Rocksteady has a good pedigree, right? And obviously people acknowledge that they're talented, so they don't want to release something that's
well. So the Arkham Origins team did Gotham Knights, right? Do I have that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
And then the actual Arkham series people, the main series, they're doing the Suicide
Squad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's why, they want to make sure they're releasing something that's, quality.
I just gotta say, Arkham Origins was an outstanding game.
It's a good game. That game gets crapped on for no reason. I don't even think people know why they're mad at that game.
There's the people that know it wasn't Rocksteady. They're like, well, it wasn't Rocksteady.
They saw a different game. They were like, okay, don't care.
Yeah. I'm on Team Rocksteady, not Team, Blocksteady. Fake.
By the way, I saw the deleted scene that came out from the Batman of the Joker. Listen, that guy, I forget how to say his name, Barry Keoghan, however you pronounce his name. He's an amazing
I've always said Keegan, but I have no idea.
Yeah, he's like in Dunkirk, like the stuff I've seen him in, he's fantastic. So it's not about him at all.
He's in Killing of a Sacred Deer, this movie where he plays like kind of like a deranged person that Kyle's seen, he knows. We both obsessed with it when we saw it. Yeah. Colin Farrell's in it, Penguin's in it. And he plays this guy who's like
it's just a reskin of Batman.
It's basically a reskin of Batman.
The point I'm getting at real quick with this is I feel like they gotta stop giving us new takes on Joker. Like it's oversaturated at this point. I feel like there's so many great Batman villains. I don't need another like turn around and this is the Joker. Oh, here's another Joker. He's deformed in this way.
It's the most popular villain, though.
I disagree. Do you know why? Because it'd be like having a Batman movie without Gordon or Alfred. It's just such a critical character to who Batman is that that the way they're doing it now,
Dude,
where there's
Batman Begins was an amazing movie, and they never needed to make The Dark Knight for that to be an amazing movie. That didn't need to exist. Joker wasn't needed for that to be a fantastic, one of my favorite Batman.
Sure, but I'm just saying the inclusion of him is like, I feel like it's essential to who Batman is.
Did they have to? Was the Batman not good enough without
after Jared Leto? I felt like we needed a Joker like revenge. You know what I mean? And,
okay, to wipe the palate.
And like while Joaquin Phoenix was like good, it just wasn't the Joker that we know. And like
I loved Joaquin Phoenix's take, but
me too. I thought it was a great. It's just not the Joker that we're
I think it's a combination of seeing. So we saw Heath Ledger, and tragically we'll never get to see another version of what he could have done with that character in the future. That's a major bummer.
Yeah.
And then
I think we getting a Heath Ledger here.
We saw
this guy,
Jared Leto, who is a good actor, but that was just not a version of Joker that I cared about. And boy, we saw way too much of that, I thought, over the last couple of years with the different scenes that they've added in and whatever.
God.
I don't think
ever want to hear about that ever again.
And then we had Joaquin Phoenix's take on it, and now now we got this Barry Keoghan version. So I think that's what it is. It's oversaturation.
You're saying you just want them to find one and stick with it. I got
find one, stick with it, or just take a break. If you can't land it, like this is the Joker who he should be.
Well,
I feel like this guy.
Look at the Batman villains that are out there. So many great
ones.
I
think in the comics, there's all different versions, right? Like there's just so many different versions.
The issue here is they're all separate, meaning like meaning that this director, this is gonna be, I'm guessing, his trilogy or whatever.
Yeah,
kind of like
he's gonna have TV shows and more movies.
Yeah, so I think that's what it's his guy. Just like I'm forgetting his name, even though he's my favorite freaking director. Christopher Nolan had reigns for those 3 movies. Yeah. It was his guys. Girls too. That's what he got. I think that's what this guy has. This guy is setting a tone, and he's like, I get to bring in my Joker, I get to bring in my Riddler, I get to give my versions. Whereas everything else that you mentioned was all other people's stuff. But I get your whole oversaturated because it's like, okay, you screwed up. I'm sorry, you screwed up with Jared Leto. I don't care if people are like, Jared Leto is a good actor. That was a shitty take, and I don't care about his excuses. He can go fuck off too. He's an idiot. That was trash.
All right.
Not a 30 Seconds to Mars fan, I take it, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, can we just acknowledge, though, that guy's 50, looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Is he?
He has a sex cold island, guys. He's doing okay.
He's got a sex cold island.
Let's not like defend Jared. He's doing fine. Guy owns his own sex island. Like he's okay. I don't know.
And by the way, I feel like speaking of Jared Leto, I feel like Morbius is going to be a bad movie. I'm hoping it is.
Dude,
have you not seen the
people have
the reviews for it already?
And
there's reviews.
Not critic reviews.
No preview. Like
fan screenings or whatever, and they were like, that was just the most incomprehensible mess I've ever seen. Like,
all right.
It's apparently worse.
Anyway, all that to say, I understand the need for Joker in the Batman universe, and I love the idea of a new version of Batman coming into a new Matt Reeves trilogy. I get it. It just feels like he's been reset so many times in the last even 5 years. I'm like, stop giving me a new version.
I feel like they should have just done the Riddler, and then the ending to the Batman should have been somebody else. We can do Joker later.
Hugo Strange would have been cooler because we never got Hugo Strange.
It was a little too predictable that we're gonna go from a villain to now the second one's gonna be. We know who it's.
We don't know that.
I got to be honest, since we're getting an Arkham Asylum TV show, I think that the Joker, that's what we're getting. We're setting that show up with this Marvel style zinger, at the end.
I think it's a little. I don't know. It's just really frustrating. Like people are like, this is not the first I've heard this. It's just frustrating that people are like, oh, Joker again, when it's like all we've seen of him in this version is a deleted scene, and he was in 2 minutes of the movie. He wasn't even a focus.
And you don't even see him in the movie, really.
You don't even see him.
You kind of hear him.
I think for me, it was more of like, oh, cool, that's who's coming next. Another version of Joker. That's what I need right now.
That's what I'm saying. A little too predictable.
Another actor who's trying to do a creepy cackle laugh. Like I was just, I don't know. There was something about that I was like, I don't need this again. Look at all the awesome.
Alone, there's a lot of people that in the movie.
Look at all the awesome Batman characters.
There's a ton of villains they could have gone.
There's so many. You don't have to keep going to Joker. And there's so
many.
Where
is is Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze.
Everybody chew.
In all seriousness, Matt Reeves loves Mr. Freeze and wants to use him in the next movie.
He says that's the villain he's after to use.
Yeah, he wants to do Mr. Freeze next, and Joker is just going to be like this presence in his world.
Because originally Joker was supposed to be a Hannibal Lecter presence, like in this
exactly.
and like in his version. So like we may have never even seen Joker like at large. He would have always been this character that Batman came to for help. So it's
I still think Scarecrow, Ra's al Ghul, I think those guys are all like just huge, awesome villains that they could dig into, and we've only gotten like one version of them on the screen. Really?
Yeah.
I have no idea who Egghead
Mr. Freeze deserves
in
to be
the Batman universe, but Nicolas Cage wants to do Egghead, and let's just go ahead and let Nicolas
just do it. Just let him do it, baby.
I mean, there's a movie about Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage.
There is.
I can't wait for that.
Can't wait.
And I will say, I hope he does get the urge to include like Hugo Strange is like somebody that's a Batman staple, like a crazy doctor in Arkham.
Hugo Strange.
And I would love to see him.
You know, they even kind
Hush
of do
they alluded to Hush. So
Tim,
like,
would you feel better if like so they're sort of foreshadowing Joker now, but wait for maybe the third movie, kind of like the climax of the trilogy?
Maybe.
I don't even think that I feel like it's annoying that they even bothered to tease him, and it was spoiled to me a long time ago. Like when it first came out, someone spoiled the idea of him being teased in it, but it was not like, oh no, I wish I wouldn't have known that. I was like, boy, that probably would annoy me. So I'm kind of glad I can prepare.
Yeah, and honestly, you're not alone. I've heard critic takes that
I'm just like
they
that
love
no
the
longer,
movie,
that
and
no
then they go, but that Joker scene though,
it's
like you know,
that's no longer bait that works for me to get me excited because that's
blown away.
I gotta be honest. I turned directly to my girlfriend. I go, "Oh my god, it's Joker!" So it really got me. Yeah, so
and there were people next to me because I go to movies alone because
sorry, going like this
because I hate people. I go to movies alone. But there were people next to me that were like,
I'm off a climp.
They were so pumped. So
because again, he doesn't say like, and that's a joke. Like you don't really like it's it's a
Joker.
Very
Joker is my favorite. Well, he's my favorite character.
I love Joker.
Him and Deadpool, like in those fictional like anti hero or villain characters. Those two are my favorite. So anytime I can get a Joker and a good one, hence Dark Knight being, I'm gonna say it's either my favorite or it's tied with The Matrix as my favorite movie.
What? How do we have the same top two, bro?
I love watching Heath Ledger play Joker, that's what I want. I want somebody. I'm not saying I want them to mimic Heath Ledger. I want that dark, like I will murder your mother.
Serial killers.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, make me scared every time you're on this. Like, make me scared on the screen.
Give me a Kevin Spacey Joker. Give me
Seven.
From Seven.
That being said,
I just thought you meant Kevin Spacey as himself because he's scared.
With what this guy's creating with this first Batman, clearly he set a tone of this is going to be, I believe, super dark. So I want his Joker. I want whatever he's going to give me.
Dude, I want this Joker to.
With all the.
He is horrifying looking, and it looks like it's they're taking off of like the comic arc where he cuts his own face off. You know.
Oh sure. The Last Laugh, is it? Maybe.
I forget. Yeah, it's
all this to say, I love the Joker too. I do. I felt the same way when I watched Amazing Spider-Man, and I had to watch Uncle Ben die again after getting shot, and I was like. We're doing this again because that movie just came out like 5 years ago.
There's no Uncle Ben in the Tom Holland series yet. Like there's still people that bitch.
But there's the third one.
And I'm like, how many have we gotten? Jeez, man, come on.
Anyway. All right, I know we're way off track.
Can I just say real quick? It would be amazing though if this Joker is like such a murder site. I want a Robin like murder scene. I want him to like be pummeling Robin for like 5 minutes and just murder the shit out of him.
I'm so ready for a Robin in a non-corny sense, like how are you that feels like
Timothy Chalamet, get Timothy Chalamet on here, get him to play Robin.
No,
and then brutally murder him.
I want them to get like a 16-year-old in there, man. I want them to get
Timothy Chalamet's not 16. I don't know.
Who's believably a Robin, you know.
Just like go minor or go home.
Where's my time?
Because he's playing a 16-year-old in Dune, so we can't do that for Robin.
Dude, Sasan would love.
He looks perpetually. Yeah, perpetually young. Listen, there's a rumor that Ubisoft is working on the Prince of Persia franchise, which has been a while. Other than the remake from Sands of Time, we haven't heard much from Prince of Persia.
The one that got like delayed for forever. You know?
Yeah.
Are we sure this isn't just Sands of Time remake?
This is they're saying this is a new one that's game. They're saying it's inspired by Ori. So I'm
it's inspired by.
I don't know what the hell that means.
I'm thinking it's okay. I'm thinking it's back to its roots of being a side-scrolling adventure action game.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Is that what we all wanted, or
I don't know? I love the old Prince of Persia.
I want a good Prince of Persia game. Like I want a Sands of Time level action adventure game.
No, I want the one that was a standalone where you have the girl helping you all the time.
Prince of Persia. It was
the rebooter or the requel.
He had like the thing wrapped around.
I didn't hate it, but that's not what I want.
I like that one.
I thought they had some good ideas. They didn't execute it perfectly, and I wanted them to continue that.
The sequel of that game would have been awesome. I thought. Yeah, I thought so too.
Well, that's just a rumor though, so we'll see if that ends up being true. Another rumor is that EA is planning to rename the FIFA franchise EA Sports Football Club, which sounds great. But their contract with FIFA ran out last November. They don't have to use FIFA. I think there's issues with FIFA maybe that they're trying. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it does sound like this year it's still going to be a FIFA game. All the rumors are pointing that they're still going to do FIFA 23, that they're going to include World Cup stuff. Obviously, World Cup's happening this summer. And so I do believe it's still going to be FIFA this year. But people are saying that starting next year, it could be renamed EA Sports Football Club, no longer FIFA. Or maybe that's a placeholder for whatever they decide to name it in the future.
I was going to say, there's no way, unless they actually absolutely lose FIFA rights, which that would doom them completely, there's no way they're taking that out of their name. They can't.
It'd be very strange unless there's something I'm unaware of with FIFA where they're trying to separate themselves. Not sure.
FIFA might be saying you got to pay us.
Could be.
Usually, this is what usually they do. I think Madden tried to do this before, and like EA is like, well, we'll just make EA's foot. I don't know. I think this has happened before, and they've kind of
EA's football guys.
EA's football teams.
Football bros.
So I think this is like a very EA thing to kind of like be like, well, we don't need you guys, and then a certain amount of money
which is smart because these and the NFL and FIFA and all them, they'll nickel and dime you.
They will
just for their name. They don't do anything.
But they also need the marketing. They need the marketing brand recognition that these types of games provide.
Which is why they usually end up settling. In these types of disagreements.
They just find a middle ground is what it's going to end up.
Last thing we'll cover before we wrap it up is that CD Projekt Red has officially announced they're working on a new Witcher game, which is going to be using for the first time for their major games on an Unreal Engine. In this case, Unreal Engine 5. But they've been using Red Engine, which is their proprietary engine for all of their games, Cyberpunk and Witcher 3.
Worked well for Cyberpunk. So.
Yeah. They're calling. Hey, listen. Apparently, they fixed most of the problems with Cyberpunk up to this point.
I've been playing problem free for a while, so
I gotta say that game, even on PC, it's not the prettiest. I would rather them switch to a better.
Well, sounds like that's what they're doing, and they are saying this is a new saga in the Witcher universe. So I don't know if that means.
They should have Lynx medallion.
Well, I was gonna say the medallion, right? So
I don't know if that's. I don't know if that
School
means
of the Lynx, whatever.
If that means after Geralt, if that means
Ciri,
that this is he's the new teacher and he's gonna be in it, or if this is gonna go like way back earlier in the history of Witchers. We don't know, but it's gonna be.
I mean, the way The Witcher 3 ended, Geralt should be done. I mean,
Geralt is done, and they said, I think I'm pretty sure they said it's not gonna be about Geralt at all. So
I don't think he's gonna be the main protagonist without a doubt. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be in it and won't be.
I think he'll show up in some way.
He's got to be in the game,
unless it's a prequel. Unless it's a prequel.
Unless it's a prequel.
I would like Ciri.
Yeah,
and it would make sense.
I think fans have been asking for that since Witcher 3, so it would make sense to me. I don't know if there's any relationship with her and the School of the Lynx. I don't.
But I'm not opposed to a Hogwarts Legacy style approach where let's just go like 1,000 years before everything and. Because the Witchers have been around for centuries.
Make your own character,
do your own whole new thing. Yeah. Like make the story disconnected. Because like at the end of Witcher 3, a whole bunch of stuff with their big wild hunt stuff, that's all resolved by the end of Witcher 3. Like that's not a thing anymore. So like take us to a different locate. Like it's kind of like Voldemort's gone at the end of the Harry Potter series. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna talk about the aftermath of Voldemort. So the
first Witcher, the first Witcher isn't like the beginning of like the lore of Witchers, right? Like that's already kind of bit.
Oh,
so like
no.
if you actually go
after
back,
all the books, pretty much.
Yeah.
Actually, a bunch of bad stuff has happened to all the Witchers. It's almost Jedi style at that point. There used to be a lot more.
There's like 16 to 24 Witchers by the time The Witcher 3 is taking place.
There used to be a lot more schools and a lot more Witchers.
Yeah, I was gonna say they should kind of go right to the beginning. That kind of seeing the inception of it.
I would love it. It's like Dragon Age Inquisition in a way, where you're kind of like making decisions to like I don't know.
Is that the greatest game ever? Yeah, sounds good.
But also, the new engine is interesting to me too. So Unreal Engine 5, as we all know, is amazing, and that's pretty exciting.
You can get a lot of tech support and help with that too, with Unreal Engine. Like
they did say there's no plans for this being Epic exclusive to the Epic Store, and people were worried about that. Like, hey, your partner, because they were announcing this big partnership with Epic with Unreal Engine 5 and blah 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 blah. And there was a lot of people that came back saying like, hey, are you going to make this exclusive? Because I guess Cyberpunk maybe was for a little while. I'm not sure if it was or not, but they were just nervous about it being exclusive. And it's not. It's not going to be exclusive.
Maybe it was. I played it on GOG, so I know it wasn't just exclusive to Epic.
Maybe it wasn't that, but on GOG. Of course, plenty of other games will go exclusive on Epic for a lengthy amount of time. Like Tiny Tina right now is exclusive, but it'll come to Steam eventually. It's listed on Steam. You can find it. It just says coming soon. So who knows when it's going to be there. Anyway, all right. Well, that does it for us this week. That was fun. A lot of good games to play. So go get to it. I don't know what the next major release is that we'll all be playing, but I'm assuming the next several weeks we'll be still talking about Tiny Tina's and
Lost Judgment. We're talking next week. All of us, right? We're all playing Lost Judgment. We're all going to play the DLC. We're all going to talk about it next week.
I'm going to keep playing Elden Ring. All I care.
We'll do that. Next week is all Elden Ring talk. So
hey, so everybody go watch 10-second movie reviews. I'm going to start doing that on the current gen channel.
It was 11 seconds.
It was 10 seconds.
I sent you a screenshot. The video is literally 11 seconds.
The narration literally ends at 9 seconds.
That's false advertising.
Dude, when I looked at it on the little timeline, it said 10 seconds.
No, it's 11.
When you look at it on the outside, it says 11. Like before you click.
God bless, brother. You know what? I always liked you, Daniel.
Whatever.
Yeah, so you like me when I agree with you, but then
I'm wrapping this up before we dive down some of the rabbit trail. Yes, go check out our YouTube channel. We're adding other content, including
peasant
movie reviews, Alpha AF impressions, and other stuff. So make sure you go check out YouTube. We'll see you guys later.
Alpha as fuck.
Chaos is.